Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we kick back, relax, and talk about anything but Disney. That's right. It's our first Main Street Cinema on the new Tiki Club 32 channel.
Tiki, kind of a mixed message there.
It's our first Kickback Cafe on the new Tiki Club 32 channel. We're still getting settled in, folks. We're still getting settled in. Oh, God.
Just to clarify, Kickback, because he gave like the Kickback Cafe.
I know. I understand what
perfectly.
I just did. I know.
Wrong name. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay, so it's the first Kickback Cafe that we are doing for the Tiki Club 32 channel. And Dragon, oh my God, it's, Kickback Cafe is usually like fun and relaxed and laid back. Not talking about anything fun and relaxed and laid back, folks. We're talking about the Netflix sensation 13 Reasons Why, and also the book behind it, which I just finished reading yesterday. Dragon, I swear to God, this is the fastest I've ever read a book, man. It's a page turner. Like, it's heavy, but it's a page turner. Like, I got through it in like 2 days. 2 days, that's all it took. So, Dragon, we are going to, of course, be breaking down both the book and primarily the show, and I'll be using the show as kind of a lens to compare and contrast to the book. So where do you want to start, Dragon?
Well, let's start with just our reaction as well as just kind of the generalized kind of audience reaction to this. I guess let's start off with the series, then we'll get to the books. That's the order in which you experienced the right series.
Of course.
So it's a reaction to the series. I guess I'll go first because you're going to have more to say. But,
you know it.
Let's see. So initially, just 13 reasons why, of course, like within Netflix show, they really know how to promote their stuff because, they have the way Netflix is always set up. They always have like kind of that big banner thing. They always have like
right, yeah.
That kind of attracts your attention. So instantly, every time I'm watching anything else on Netflix, it's like popped up. Say, 13 Reasons Why. That's good brain. That's an eye-catching kind of moniker. But you know what? I don't have time to get into another Netflix series. I have to show up. I'm sure it's good. I don't have time for it. Yeah, again, Netflix. They're always doing it right. So why am I just to assume that it's something I need to get into? Then I believe Tiki then at some point just kind of told, oh yeah, you gotta watch it. And saying, yeah, okay, I'm sure it's good. Maybe if I have time, I'll get to it. Then I realized something. Then I realized something.
I honest to God, Tiki. Like I knew you liked this actor, but I didn't know it'd be like that much of a pull for you.
Basically, I realized I forget how I realized it. Basically, I was looking into the show somewhere. I was just kind of going through something else, and I just kind of realized, like, I looked at the credits somehow, the credits that appeared, and it says, oh my God, Dylan Minetti's in this. Tiki, I told Tiki, why didn't you tell me Minetti was this? Now I gotta watch it.
I was like, okay, I mean, I know you like Goosebumps, but like I said, I didn't know you were like that into the guy.
Well, I'm saying I was really surprised by him in Goosebumps. Like, I want to see more of this guy, and like not only is it more, it's like a Netflix series that apparently he's getting a lot of buzz, so it must. Might be really good with him in there. So they give it a watch, and it had this great kind of mystery tape set up. I thought it was really clever and addictive. Really kind of get you. Oh, you got to watch and Minetti really delivered, which we'll get into how and all that stuff later on. But storytelling, it was weaved in very well. Of course, there are a few frustrating elements. Not bad, just frustrating that you're supposed to be frustrated. It's like one of the like engrossing. A series. It gets you really fired up. So it was very, very effective. Really, I had a good time watching it. So, I had a enthralling time. I'm saying it was an experience. I'm saying you had an experience watching it. Not like it wasn't like a rootin' tootin' good time or anything.
Okay, so folks, I'm not going to get too much into my personal shit, but let's just say. All I'm going to mention about this, Dragon, I'm just going to kind of like beat around the bush and kind of tease at it. Like, let's just say, and Dragon knows about this, the reason why Dragon knows I have sort of some personal problems is because of a video I uploaded around the time that Justin Carmichael, a.k.a. Jew Wario, committed suicide. And I don't want to say that I've been suicidal myself, but I want to say I've been kind of like on the fringes of it from time to time. I do suffer from anxiety and depression. Again, I don't want to be a downer on this podcast or anything, but let's just say it's like the subject of suicide is kind of what drew me to the show and what kind of made me dread this show at the same time. And essentially, Dragon, it was just like a huge like water cooler conversation at work, and that's kind of what made me like, well, my God, this is like all these people are talking about. So if I want to get in on the conversation, I got to watch this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Dragon, I had a strategy to watching this thing to get me through it in, in a way where I was at least mentally prepared for it. And this is the first time I'm telling you about it. Basically, Dragon, I looked up all the reasons beforehand.
You know what's funny? I did it along the way. I didn't look at what the next one was going to be. I just wanted to make sure like I didn't miss anything, or like okay, I just make sure these tapes are really deep because really nicely woven out with with him kind of speaking about the stuff. So I just want to make sure I got it and who's responsible for this and that. So I've been kind of tracking along the way instead of looking at all of them at once.
So essentially, what it came down to is I was just looking at I did go through like the Wikipedia, and the Wikipedia lists like the tape and the reason at the bottom of the page. So I did that. And I kind of determined to myself, like, if it was going to be anything that was too triggering, if it was going to be anything that would be too real and hit too close to home for me. And I gotta say, it's like, sure, there was some pretty, pretty hard stuff to deal with, especially as the tapes go on. I gotta say, like, it isn't really my personal experiences, so that made it a little easier. I don't know, man. It was still a tough sit. But just knowing what was coming up, and Dragon, there were some moments when we were talking about it, and you got through the series faster than I did, and you were trying to like avoid spoilers, like specifically with the Bryce thing. I was like, yeah, I know. Like, I didn't want to tell you I knew, but I knew, and I was not looking forward to it. But I got through the series, and Dragon, just my first reaction to it, it just legitimately made me want to be more open and honest with my family about the issues that I deal with. It made me want to just double think all the times I've ever been on the edge of doing what Hannah did. And that scene in the bathtub, man, I openly wept when I got to that scene. It was so powerful. And of course, we'll talk about that in favorite moments and everything. I mean, it's not a favorite moment in terms of like, oh, this is Dragon. I legitimately never want to watch that scene again in my life, but I'm glad that but I'm glad that I went through it. It's like one of those moments where it's like, it was an experience that I needed to have. I don't ever want to see it again. I really don't. But I'm glad that I got through it just to get the emotional response that it gave out of me, and kind of to, it was rough, but it was kind of what I needed to pull myself out of some of my own personal depression and to kind of make some changes in my life that were for the better. So I very much appreciate the show in that regard. I've talked with a number of people who just, they're absolutely they're absolutely like, they don't want anything to do with the show because of the subject matter. And honestly, I understand that. Like, it's a rough sit, you know what I mean? And my mood, it was genuinely affected by it by a couple days. But after, like I said, after going out of that cloud and that haze, I kind of came out on the other side a stronger person through having done this. And Dragon, I did have the experience like Clay of like, I was getting through the tapes, but it was hard, I kept putting it off, except I remember on the, the last night I got through like tapes like 9 through 13 all in one sit. And those, of course, are like, that gets into the really heavy, intense stuff that we'll talk about. But that was rough for me, man. That was a rough night. But overall, I just have deep personal, ties to the subject matter of the show. And I feel like this show, like the criticisms for the show being a trigger for suicidal kids, I can understand that. I get it, because there is some very upsetting content here. And anxiety and depression is different for every person, obviously. We all go through it differently. But for me personally, I found this show helped me. So that's all I want to say about it.
Well, what's kind of funny is that with well, I don't want to say like "ha funny" again, but it's kind of an interesting observation. Is that while you took all that away from it, which I completely understand, I find interesting. I am there, and I think just looking at it in perspective, I think the reason I was really thing I took away from it, I guess, going through the whole, chugging along as the thing was going. It kind of fed into kind of like, sort of that making a murderer vibe, where it's like, you want justice to be done, you really get invested in it that way. It's like going along. not necessarily anticipating tragedy, but just come along there, like you want justice to be done. You want, it's just like this poor girl's been kind of wronged in various ways, and the show keeps building upon them. You're just like,
Sure,
oh,
sure.
it's not right, and of course our protagonist is kind of like us, kind of taking all that in. And again, he's getting fired up as we're getting fired up. So that's again, I just love this that sort of investment that it really puts in an audience. So that's kind of. I was saying there are many meanings to take away from that. That's kind of what I'm getting at there.
For sure, for sure.
So I have the book measure up.
Okay. Yeah, the book is really interesting. As you know, Dragon, as I've told you, the main difference from the book is that the present timeline with Clay takes place over the course of one night. So it's much more introspective. It's much less like Clay kind of being the avenger to Hannah. Like that really is kind of like stuff that's added for the Netflix stuff. And I definitely think a lot of that stuff is some of the strongest stuff in the series. So it's really just two different animals, Dragon. It really is. I mean, the book much more focuses on, like I said, like Clay's sort of inner struggles to deal with what happened to Hannah, as well as, of course, it gets into, it's kind of like the two narratives, like Hannah's narration and then Clay's thoughts about Hannah's narration kind of weave back and forth through the book. So I would probably say the series is probably a little better. I definitely would say, but that's just because the series has time to to stretch out. Like we get to know the characters in the series a lot more. And the book, really, it's Clay, it's Hannah, and that's really it. I mean, like even Tony gets like one chapter. Like Tony's in the book. He plays a very similar role to what he plays when Clay listens to his own tape in the book. He's like driving Clay around and comforting him. But other than that, even Tony's not really in it that much. So it's really just like, the characters kind of weave in and out of the stories, but they mostly just, show up for, like, for example, Jessica, she has her own like major arc and in the series that's just not in the show. And same thing with people like Justin. Justin we'll talk about, Dragon. I think you and I have different sort of mixed opinions about Justin, but I definitely think Justin, he has the whole arc with Bryce being his best friend, and then, the family life situation and the struggle with, like staying true to himself versus staying true to his best friend, who's also a piece of shit human being. And I don't know, I just think the series definitely did a very good job of kind of taking the ideas that were set forth with the characters and expanding on them and really creating an even more interlocking narrative. But the book, I would say, is a good kind of it's a good complement to the series. You know what I mean? It's a good sort of you get more into the minds of Clay and Hannah. They're definitely the two main characters, and I don't know. Like I said, it's very different. Like you definitely kind of get the mounting anxiety as Clay's listening to the tapes. It's much different. Like in the show, Clay's kind of trying to avoid listening to the tapes. In the book, it's more he's just wanting to get through them as fast as possible because he's desperate to hear his side. And so yeah, that's about it.
Well, a little fun fact, I'm sure you want to check this out, Tig, you want to get a chance. There is apparently years back, and this sometimes happens with, like I remember this happened with some other book series, just really kind of like a little, like a viral marketing stunt of some kind. I don't know if this was necessarily just like a fan-made thing, but basically there is a YouTube channel called Hannah's Friend 13, and essentially someone, not an extraneous like the full tapes or anything, someone did like upload on a channel. This was done like two or like 1 or 2 years after the book was released.
I can confirm that this is an official thing from the book. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. And essentially, what they do is like they have a voices Hannah's kind of basically kind of going through the 13 tapes.
And it might be word for word from the book. I don't know. I'd have to check.
Oh yeah, it's all the book, and it's like like 2 to 3 minutes. It's like minute long clips. It's not like an hour, or anything, so it's not the full thing. But the point is, it's impressive.
Gotcha.
So yay, viral marketing. Okay, so let's get into the backstory a little bit. So let me set the stage here. We'll get into some deep cut stuff. Then we're just going to go over all the production of the series. So. 2007, as I mentioned, with little Hannah's Friend 13, a little shout out there too. 2007, there's a little book release, a little book we're talking about here today, 13 Reasons Why. written by Jay Asher.
Yep. Is that my cue?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So yeah, folks, Jay Asher, Dragon, I'm getting all this information from the back of the copy of the book I have, which
Well,
is
can we show it to the folks?
It's in the car. I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, sorry, I thought we had it.
I'm sorry. No.
It's in the car, like Tony's cassette player.
Pretty much.
We're going that in depth with it.
No, I finished reading the book on my way up to Six Flags yesterday, so that's why it's still in the car. But
okay.
Anyways, so yeah, the back of the book has 13 questions about 13 reasons why, which is basically an interview with Jay Asher. So I'll just give you kind of the highlights, Drake, and I'll give you the highlights.
Okay.
The novel first started life as a format, and the kind of mystery suicide angle came later on. But the format that Jay Asher was inspired by was museums with audio tours.
Ooh.
Yeah, so he loved the idea of, like, having the cassette tape as you walk through the museum. Yeah. And you push play on the different exhibits, and he really liked that method of storytelling. He thought it would work really well for a book. But the problem was he had to come up with something that would be engaging and a reason why the kids would have the cassette tapes and everything like that. He has a friend, a close friend of his, a female friend who attempted suicide in high school and luckily, lived through it, of course, and is on a much better track now. But he was able to get from his friend kind of I'm not sure exactly how it transitioned from the, he was talking to his friend about suicide and, having these really deep in-depth conversations about the subject and also thinking about the book and the audio tape and using the audio tapes. And through these conversations, the idea of the book kind of came together. And in terms of landing on the 13 reasons, he wanted to call the main character Anna Baker, but he realized that there were a lot of different stories where characters named Anna have killed themselves. So he decided to give characters named Anna a break and put an H at the end of the name and Hannah Baker. And the book was originally going to be called Baker's Dozen. Baker's Dozen, the autobiography of Hannah Baker, because a baker's dozen is 13, and so so the title is basically a pun.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's such a hilariously dark pun.
I know, right?
Baker's Dozen. That's so clever.
Baker's Dozen, the autobiography of Hannah Baker. Yeah. And then. Let's see. I mean, that's about it. He, like I said, the main thing he wanted to take away from the book and wanted people to glean. I guess I have a couple. A lot of the embarrassing things that happened in the book, like some of the details that aren't necessarily in the show, like Hannah's first kiss tasting like chili dogs, is definitely from real life in his experience.
With the same girl, just from life?
No, the girl was just a friend.
Okay.
I just want to emphasize that there was no inkling of like romance or anything.
Just want to be clear. Just want to make sure the divide's set for the folks out there. Okay.
Sure. Dragon, the main memory that he has that kind of worked its way into the book is a very serious moment in the book. I don't exactly remember how this was played in the Netflix show. I know it was in the Netflix show. But the moment where in the communications class, Hannah writes a note about suicide and people basically give it's written anonymously and people basically give the anonymous writer shit because they're afraid to come forward with who they really are. And that is really a point in the book that sends her into like a spiral. Like that's the point where it's like, okay, fuck it. No one cares. No one's going to step forward. This is like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Dragon, do you remember if that moment happened?
Yeah, I remember that moment. It doesn't necessarily play as powerful as I don't want to say not one side. It doesn't play like as direct as it does in the book, but it is in there. In the show, what they do with it is that they're like going through notes in the classroom, kind of the positivity notes and like all these like communication, like things like that they have read, and it is anonymous. And what they're really harping on is like. They're not picking up on the suicide of it all. They're just saying, "Oh man, that's that's a bummer. Like they're dwelling on it, but they're not like explicitly saying it's suicide, but they are kind of like making fun of it. Like,
Okay.
well, the students are making fun of it.
So in the book, it's a lot more mean, and it's a lot more direct that they know it's about suicide, and they're still being mean about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's sounds a little bit more cruel the way you're.
Yeah. Right. So that was like the main memory that he took from it, that he inserted into it, and that memory, I'm guessing, along with his friend's experiences, kind of formed the shape of the book. Of course, one of the main struggles that he had was coming up with a character to carry the narrative, to kind of be the voice of the audience. And one of his best friends from high school was a character that was very much like Clay, kind of like the nice guy that everyone liked, who maybe wasn't as confident as himself as everyone else was confident in him, being a nice guy. And so this guy and him were just spending a weekend getting, like they kind of had like a high school reunion. They just, drinking beers, talking, reminiscing. And they came up with the Clay character. They came up with this nice guy who got involved, like who got wrapped up in the drama, though it wasn't necessarily his fault. And kind of basically everyone else, Dragon, everyone else on the tapes, more or less is at fault except for Clay, and that very much holds true in the book. So that's about all. He like I said, it was very much built on real life experiences. He very much wanted the goal of the book from him writing it was for people to approach people, was for that line of communication to open up, for suicide to not be such a stigma to talk about, for if you're experiencing suicidal thoughts, to talk to someone about it. If you know someone who is going through something and you think that they might be on the verge, talk to them about it. That was 100% Jay Asher's intention, was to open up communication about it. And I think, especially through the Netflix show, he really achieved that. So, yeah, that's all I got for the backstory of the book.
So speaking of the Netflix show, so 2011, Universal gets the rights to 13 Reasons Why. They get the rights. That's about, let's see, 4 years after the book's release. So that just shows you kind of the successful track the book had. Mm-hmm. So Universal gets the movie rights, and it's the kind of the lousy comparison I have is that it's sort of like kind of a series of unfortunate events. Only in that series of unfortunate events, they actually had their movie made. Then years later they did the way they wanted to on Netflix. So I'm just saying it's kind of like the Netflix not Universal. I'm just saying kind of the kind of movie to Netflix kind of ratio there. My point is, 2011, Universal gets the rights. They plan a movie with Selena Gomez as Hannah Baker. Mm-hmm. And they realized as time went on, it's like, I don't know if there were like necessarily production problems or not, but the point is, as time went on, they kind of realized, as many shows are realizing now, be better on Netflix, be better in if we have a thing called 13 Reasons Why, why don't we do it in kind of more serialized manner?
Sure.
And Gomez produced it, and she's actually a very competent producer. I gotta tell you, she does all the press. She a lot of the at the end of the 13 episodes, you have like a Beyond 13 Reasons Why, which essentially kind of reestablishes the themes of the show. It also kind of really emphasizes the suicide prevention effort, which is stressed in the series. Like a lot of
of course, and like I said, that was a big part of Jay Asher's reason for writing the book as well. Yeah,
which definitely they definitely carry that over from Asher's intention into the series.
Right.
Especially they're really hyped up. The phone number they've directed through like a 13 Reasons Why, just to make sure any press that goes to like a good cause. So I mean, Gomez seems to be really doing it right. I mean, Gomez has also been good in other things, but I always want to make it clear in case anyone's not like an anti-Selena Gomez. The point is, very strong in kind of delivering that theme. Was very well produced, well acted, and that's all she wrote. Just they kind of. The main distinction I can really just say on the flip side of things is before we kind of get into specifics as the thing goes on, is that it seems to me in kind of serializing the 13 episodes, I gotta wonder how much of that's. I mean, some of it has to be accident. I was realizing, right, it's called 13 Reasons Why, and what's usually the max number of a Netflix season's 13 episodes. So,
it's totally a coincidence, but yeah, I see what you're getting at.
I'm just saying, it's like funny kind of happens. It's like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, this would be great on Netflix. Anyway, in doing that, I'm figuring that they realize, well, yeah, we changed one fundamental detail about the book, and that all happened over one night. We take kind of this now. Tiki, remind me, in the book, it is established that Clay is having trouble getting through the tapes.
I mean, he's not enjoying himself,
Yeah.
but like I said, it's more just like he's trying to get through them as quickly as he can because he's desperate to get to his tape.
Right. Well, it sounds like this that they kind of took that deviation of, okay, how can we stretch this out in the 13 episodes? Well, we know there's like a hint of trepidation, but Clay's still going through it in the book. So let's just what if we just actually kind of with his character, we're going to work through and make it like a painful process as it's like hint at, but again, it's going through. What if we just kind of really linger on that process so we can get like day by day going on here, maybe week by week, who knows?
Sure.
Most likely day by. The point is, we extended that, which sounds like a logical, like kind of way of adapting it, but still keeping the genesis of the book. But still
I gotta tell you, if they adapted the book into a movie, I could see it working just the way that the book is formatted over that one night. You know what I mean, with the flashbacks. I'd actually be kind of curious to see it in that form.
And again, ever since Tika described it, just kind of blew my mind with the whole it takes place in one night thing. It kind of really intrigued me because doing it like all this in one night does sound like really interesting structure. And you're right, Tika. It wouldn't be really good in the movie. You just have to trim out a lot of the extra stuff, obviously. And, I could see a lot of the scenes just playing, kind of essentially like a sequence by sequence basis instead of like a lot of like kind of reveals in an episode sort of thing.
Sure, right.
Anyway, let's see. So that's really all the backstory. It's not like a whole lot. Well, a little fun detail they had. They had this fun little thing that they've revealed about the series that they had because the series was so depressing and so much of an ordeal. They had they had animals on set, stress relief animals. They had there's like depression relieving animals. I don't know what crap. Empathy animals. They had some sort of like a therapeutic pet thing.
Yeah,
whatever that's called. They had pets on set to make everyone feel all cuddly and nice.
Well, okay.
All right.
Okay.
So let me summarize the premise, and we'll dive right into this stuff.
Go ahead.
All right. So real quick summation. So talk of a small town. The talk of a small town is the suicide of a high school girl named Hannah Baker. In the aftermath of that, protagonist Clay Jensen, friend of Hannah's, who is a friend of Hannah's, discovers these mysterious tapes. His friend Tony, following Hannah's wishes, has sent and passed on to a number of people, to the people specifically the people who drove her to take her own life. 13 tapes, hence 13 reasons. Go figure. The intense mystery as the intense mystery unfolds, all this as Clay falls down the rabbit hole. The intense mystery unfolds as Clay falls down the rabbit hole of these injustices and cruelties that Hannah Baker endured. And boy, will there be a price to pay as our hero listens to his old friend's voice. That's kind of the series in a nutshell. Is kind of Clay learning about what Hannah Baker endured. That's kind of the series premise right there.
Okay, so I guess we can start with the two main characters. You want to go to Hannah first?
She's important, so yeah, sure, let's go with Hannah first. Yeah.
I mean, it's either Hannah or Clay. It's up to you.
It's Clay, but I mean, if you want to start with Hannah, we can start with Hannah.
Let's start with Hannah. Yeah. Right. Okay.
There is no show without Hannah. Let's face it.
Exactly. I don't know, Dragon. It's interesting. Here's the thing. This is hard to talk about.
Catherine Langford?
I think book Hannah is better than show Hannah.
How so?
Because I just think that one of the problems with the show Hannah is kind of how she this is a criticism that I've heard addressed. I don't necessarily agree with it, but basically some of the reasons are a little bit let's say Ryan and Zach, the book, let's just say the book does a better job of kind of explaining how everything that happened to Hannah was kind of like a spider web. You know what I mean? It's like a tapestry of shit that happened to her. And the book, I feel does a better job of kind of explaining that. Whereas in the series, I feel like the series, I don't know, I don't necessarily think, I think one of the weird things with the series that I don't know how they could have fixed is I'm sure you can imagine chapters like the Zach chapter or the Ryan chapter, don't have as much weight or don't have as many pages devoted to them as, let's say, like, the Bryce chapter or the Tyler chapter, for example.
Sure, yeah, I think Ryan more specifically is like that one's really just kind of like it's built her in one moment, then it passes. Like there's not really any heft to. You kind of know where it's going. That one's just kind of
Right. So basically, what I'm saying is, I feel like the book does do a better job with the tapestry of the emotions that is Hannah Baker, and it's even a little bit more devastating too. I don't know.
Well, yeah, Tika, I not hear much focus on like Hannah what's the difference between Hannah the character in the book versus kind of Hannah.
Okay, well that's the thing. I feel like the character of Hannah Baker in both the book and the show is like more of just a. I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's more of just like a plot device. Like I definitely feel like I don't know.
I'm sorry, which one? Okay, I think I can help you out. But just want to clarify. So, which one's the plot device necessarily? You saying both, or just one or the other?
I'm saying both of them are more plot devices, but I'm saying like the show you get to know her a little bit more, but some of the stuff that she does on the show, I don't know. I'm not doing a good job of explaining.
Well, let me see if I can maybe kind of take a stab at what I think.
Okay.
At least I'll share my thing. We'll see. Maybe there's some crossover there. So with Hannah, I like Hannah really values honesty. Sorry, she values honesty, and she likes how genuine and honest Clay is. For example, that's really where she kind of hits a stride. And I like that the show didn't shy away from Hannah, and I love that this is kind of a thing people have really been analyzing after the show is kind of gone away. Is that after the show's after people have gone through the show, is that Hannah isn't like necessarily like she's not. She's no angel necessarily. I'm saying she was wronged absolutely, but I'm saying she's not without blame in certain places. I don't mean like she is.
One of the big things that the book emphasizes that I feel like the show did not necessarily emphasize is the book. She's constantly, as she's going through the tape, she's like, as she's coming down to it, she's like, I want you all to understand, those who are listening to it, even though you played a role in this, this is my decision. It's no one else's. I am putting my destiny in my own hands, and this is how I have chosen to go out.
Now, I don't think that really. Well, tell me what you think of this. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, go ahead.
I don't. Here's the thing with that. I don't think that necessarily carries over into the show. At least my read on. I don't really get a lot of that in the show.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying in the book, Hannah is more like she's more direct with saying that it's selfish what she's doing, and she understands that it's selfish. She understands that there's people like her parents and Clay that want to help her. She just doesn't think that they can help her.
And I like how they showcase that. I like how they showcase with that. Hannah's like she puts a lot on certain people. Like I'm not saying like all the people are wrong. They're necessarily something like Porter, for example. Porter's like a debatable case where again that's like. Porter definitely made mistakes, and we'll get into that. Porter was definitely has
the book. Porter is worse. I'll say that.
Oh wow! But yeah, we'll get to Porter. But my point is like there's certain like again Hannah's. I like that she was flawed. I like that she was imperfect. I like that they really play with this. And Tika on the rewatch this plays even better in places, especially the first shot of the show, which we'll get into a little later on. Pros. Okay, this is the first shot of the show. Essentially, it's like
want me to blow your mind.
Okay.
That locker does not factor into the book whatsoever.
Get out of here! Are you serious?
I was totally expecting it to. No, there's no memorial locker in the book at all.
I'll get into the great symbolism of that a little bit more later on. My point is, what I'm getting at there is like overall, especially in that scene, there was this idea that after someone. Basically, Hannah's talked about after she passed. Like it's like everyone has like this.
Hannah's empty desk is more the symbol in the book.
That's interesting. I didn't consider that being that's cool.
Yeah.
But, anyway, my point is with Hannah, it's like people taking like the event more than they are the girl. That's kind of what the aftermath is like. Hannah's almost a martyr. That's kind of the best comparison. It's like essentially it's like she's sainted after she dies because she's become so important now because she.
Which is interesting, and I feel like the show itself is trying to make a commentary on that to a certain extent.
I really love that in certain scenes too. The way on the rewatch how they kind of exemplify that visually in places.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's a really kind of nice statement on death of like, a lot of times it's like people focus on kind of the aftermath. They try to make it about themselves, try to make themselves feel better. They try, it's like Hannah was a flawed person. She, if you look at the tapes as a whole, don't get me wrong, again, she's in the right for a majority of them, but a lot of times she makes her little judgments, even with the characterization that Captain Langford's playing. Like in the beginning, she kind of don't get me wrong, it's in a nice kidding manner with Clay, but she's just kind of like taking shots at him. She's taking shots at him. She's kind of a cynical person, and it's kind of sadistic putting
She
all
never
these
calls
people.
him Helmet in the book.
Oh, come on, really? That was cute.
I know.
Darn it. Anyway.
I'm blowing your mind with this. I'd like to see, that Lost in Adaptation guy?
Yeah?
I think he could do a really interesting episode between the book and the show.
I would really like to see that.
Yeah, he should.
But I mean, yeah, you gotta look at the concept of you making the tapes. It is kind of a sadistic thing, putting all these injustices on certain terrible acts. Because don't get me wrong, all these are terrible acts, like saying, hey, all this action you did, you thought was really mean all the time, led me to kill myself. That's essentially the message with those tapes that she's kind of sending out there.
Sure, exactly.
Again, it's like it paints her in sort of like, don't get me wrong. It's like no one in this show no one in this show is really like all what. It's not black or white. There's tons of shades of gray in the show.
I mean, Clay is the closest, and Clay is
Clay is a little
bit more morally ambiguous in the book than he is in the show.
I don't know. I think he's still somewhat morally ambiguous in the show because the actions he takes kind of takes him down. That takes him into the grave.
Well, I mean, I'll explain. the moral ambiguity when we get to him. But yeah, okay.
Anyway, just the point is, she's not perfect or without blame in places. And I'm not on the whole just kind of like a nice basically like. They also, last thing I would say about is, again, they kind of exemplify kind of the transitional phase of the teenage girl with her too. It's like, again, she's kind of going through things. She's kind of experiencing things for the first time. We have like a realistic, non-perfect portrayal, which I enjoyed.
Sure. Right. Okay. Now, Clay.
Yes.
I think in the show they definitely like way more emphasize his him wanting to get back, like avenge Hannah.
Yeah.
In the book, it's more discussed. It's more just like, oh God, I can't believe I have to go to school tomorrow and see all these people. Like in the show, he more definitely wants to do something about it. Now, Dragon, let me explain the main difference between Clay and Hannah, book Clay and TV show Clay. In the book, Clay always wanted, like he always had a thing for Hannah, but he was always very, very much reserved about approaching her or doing anything with her because of her reputation.
Really?
And that is like a main kind of like morally ambiguous thing on his part. And it's something that he's going through as he's hearing about the reputation and hearing about how wrong the reputation was from reality. Like that's basically what kept him from approaching her earlier than the party. And basically by the time the party hits, it's too late. Like she already feels like she's already gone at that point. You know what I mean? So that is really like on him. You know what I mean? The fact that like he could have approached her, he could have, when she needed someone, he could have been there for her, but he wasn't. And he wasn't specifically because of this big snowball chain of events and her reputation and everything. And the reputation is the one thing that definitely like it, it was the catalyst that started the whole thing off. And it was just built on completely unfair and unfounded circumstances.
Certainly. Again, I get a sense it sounds like Clay's beating himself up for just kind of buying into it like everyone else.
Exactly.
And he's still innocent in that case because he didn't know, but he should have seen through it. That's kind of what he's beating himself up. Or it sounds like to me with the book.
Sure. Yeah, you're on the money with it. Yeah.
So again, just with the series version, of course, I thought Minetti was fantastic, and
he really is. I would not be surprised to see him like get nominated for an Emmy.
Oh yeah, that'd be so nice.
Mm-hmm.
And with Minetti here, I think he exemplifies so well here. He also did really well. It's kind of that same quality. This is the thing that really draws me to the guy. I want to see more stuff with him. Is that he really has this great kind of heroic, kind of everyman quality about him.
Sure.
He does. I saw this in Goosebumps, and that's kind of why I was interested to see him in this. And here he just ran with it. He had a lot more to play with than he did in Goosebumps. Goosebumps just kind of like, okay, he's just kind of like the basically the competent guy on the team versus the other cowardly one on the team. Again, as Tiki and I have kind of pointed out to each other, like again going after a dead girl named Hannah.
Right.
And he has the dead girl named Hannah. He's got kind of the blonde, the blonde nice mother who's just not exactly in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Oh yeah, there's like a few minor similarities there. Just kind of the eerie one being the Hannah thing, but yeah, the fun comparison I have is like, yeah, it's kind of like I don't want to just say like another young Bruce Wayne, but it's also just that the phrase I've been using to describe is kind of like a young Steve Rogers. He's just kind of like it's kind of just a differentiator because here's the funny thing, yeah, plays Batman, but at the same time he's just kind of like the moral thing of like, well, we're not, we got to do something here.
I can see that.
It's like the young Steve Rogers kind of quality. Like this kid just, oh my god, he's really upstanding, really kind of that heroic everyman. He's thrown into this crazy conspiracy. This everyman is thrown into this crazy conspiracy. He's also kind of coming to age. He's going to coming to age and coming to grips with his feelings for Hannah. I love it in the beginning. It's like kind of a denial of like, oh no, we barely knew each other. Again, just trying to divorce himself from the tragedy. But all this stuff really brings up like, oh my god, it really did. She really was my everything. She really
right, yeah.
Which is tragic, and also of course he represents the audience's reaction as he's experiencing, which is why which is why he's fighting for Hannah, which is why he's kind of fighting against all this conspiracy stuff, which is why he's looking for the right moments to kind of act and bring this whole thing down. It's lovely. He's like he's the one trying to avenge Hannah and make it right. He's trying to make it right all throughout the thing. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else more diverse than just he's heroic and trying to make it right. And anything else I can say about the guy. He can say so much with what Mary does. He can say so much without saying anything in those scenes. Like the scenes where he's just kind of seeing like kind of the bandage device is a really clever thing, so we kind of have the present Clay in a flashback, and just like see him kind of process things. And of course, the scene on the cliff. Oh my god, there's a scene right there. He's emotionally devastated. Like
that, yeah. That's taken straight from the book, pretty much line for line. Yeah,
and like seeing just what Monet. Last thing I'll say about Monet, because I don't want to just go on a love fest about the kid, but what as he plays his character, what's so great about it is that he is just kind of like a male Kim Possible, and he doesn't do anything wrong necessarily. So he's kind of the golden eye to the golden apple to the parents. Whereas he's the good kid. Like everyone knows, oh yeah, it's Clay Jr. He's the nice kid in school. Like he's kind of like he's somewhat familiar with the jocks. He's kind of like everyone just kind of looks to this kid.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like he just keeps, as the series goes on, with all this stuff weighing on him, with all like knowing these little secrets about these people, it chips away his soul, and you just see him like being broken as the episode goes on. Visually gets beaten and beaten down by it, physically and emotionally.
As the book goes on, he does kind of get more beat up. Like there's a point where he's like grabbing onto a barbed wire fence, and he like needs to go in and bandage his hands at a certain point. So the bandages do come into play as well.
What I'm saying is like that underdog you're rooting for to get to the end of this thing. And again, like that big time of like, hey, you're on the tape somewhere. And he's like, you don't know it. Just all that weighing on him. It's like your heart goes out to him. And he just plays that so well. So let's get off the love fest. Let's go on to another character.
Okay. Do you want to do Tony?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man. I I think the internet is so mixed on this guy. Like, I think half the internet loves him. I think because of the whole unhelpful Yoda thing.
But that's fun.
I know. I don't really want to say too much about Tony, because one of my favorite moments definitely kind of like sums up pretty much the whole reason I love Tony. But let's see. Does
he remind you a little bit of Nacho from Better Call Saul?
Not really.
I'm just saying in the acting at all. Does it remind you of that?
Not really. Can't say that it does.
Anyway, keep going.
I know. And also, I'm gotta say I'm kind of worried about the time here, but yeah, I don't know. He's like I said, in the book, he has kind of like the one moment. There's a really nice moment. Okay, in the book, basically how he tracks the people is, tracks if the people are listening to the tapes or not. Is he'll park outside of their class as they get out of school, and he'll call them over to the car, and he'll lift up a cassette tape and say like, "Hey, let me play you a song," right? And he can tell based on the people's reactions if they've listened to the tape or not.
Ah, it's clever.
Yeah. But with Clay, it was a lot easier because Clay, and this is one of my favorite moments from the book, because Clay, basically Clay stumbles upon Tony as he's like taking a walk with the tapes, trying to find someone to play them, he stumbles upon Tony, helps Tony fix the car. It's kind of the scene out of the show where, he's meeting his dad and everything, like, oh yeah, I remember you, the Jensen kid, good with your please and thank yous, and then Tony, Clay actually ends up stealing the Walkman from Tony's car, and Tony meets back up with him later. And during the moment I'm trying to emphasize, this is my favorite Tony moment from the book, so I'm kind of saving my favorite Tony moment from the show. But Clay's like, well, how do you didn't do the cassette thing with me? How do you know I took it, or how do you know I've been listening to the tapes? And then Tony's just like, well, you were easy, Clay. You stole my Walkman. And then that's like the one moment in the book where Clay genuinely laughs, and he and he kind of expresses like, oh, it felt so good to laugh in that moment, like that's like the levity I needed to get through this night. So Tony is just like a very, very supportive guy. The book tries to give him a little bit, or the show kind of gives him a little bit more to play with the gay thing, which isn't in the book. I mean, I don't really care about that one way or another.
Is it like open in the book, or is it just like kind of
in the book? It's like it's just kind of like he's not gay at all. It's just sort of yeah. So it's added for the series. I don't know. It gives him a little bit extra dimension. I think one of my favorite moments from
it was the Clay didn't know the whole time.
I'm gay, Clay, right?
This is Clay completely taken aback and just realize it. Oh, that's a fun punctuation to that really intense scene of climbing up the.
Right. It's interesting, Dragon. Let's talk about that episode, because I feel like that episode kind of sums up Tony's character, even though it's one of the biggest. Like, that's one of the complaints I hear about the show when they say it drags on, is the whole rock climbing episode. Like, yeah, Tony and Clay spend an episode climbing a rock, but Dragon, I don't know. I love that episode because I feel like that episode is the most important Tony episode, because it's very much symbolizes like what Tony's trying to help him do. Like Clay needs to climb this thing. He needs to face this immeasurable task that he set for himself, and Tony's there to do it. I think that's really all I have to say about Tony. He's just like a great sort of guardian angel type character. He's got this warm presence to him. You can see how Hannah would trust him with this task, and very, one of the most powerful moments of the show comes out of it for me, and I'll talk about that when we get there.
Well, the thing with Tony is just kind of, for me, it was always kind of like the unhelpful Yoda was just kind of thing that came about later. It's like now everyone's calling him unhelpful Yoda. Basically, it's kind of like an unhelpful Yoda meets Fonzie to me. It's just kind of like the Fonzie of he was kind of the cool guy with the cool car, and it's like no one wanted to mess with him because they knew, okay, this guy can take care of himself, and he's also kind of the guy. I believe the word got around Tony was the guy who sent out the first box. So they know this guy's kind of overseeing things. Again, not to the capacity it is in the book, but I'm just saying, like in the show, it's like, okay, there's like, you don't want to mess with this guy, and he kind of has something over us in case he wanted to, go against us. And I like this quality I have with Tony is like you don't know if you can trust him at times, and we kind of see that through Clay. Like Tony's his friend, but now has Luca under that conspiracy kind of. Again, with the Steve Rogers thing, it's kind of like a Winter Soldier. Like you don't know who you can trust.
Oh God.
And again, it just seems to be someone not to trifle with. And the main complaint I could see falling under Tony, which I think honestly the whole the climbing thing really exemplifies the whole, like, why don't we just kind of I'll get to this in cons a little bit. Basically, it's the idea of just why not take the easy route? Because again, they can walk down after they climb up the thing. They just can easily walk down the path instead of climbing down. And of course, you have to go on the journey so you appreciate it, so you're emotionally ready for everything. That's the point that Tony's trying to make. I mean, he's all these cryptic bits of wisdom, and he can't tell his friend, even though he probably wants to. But again, it's so he kind of he appreciates what Hannah went through, so he kind of gets it. So that's what the whole thing's going for. He's always kind of a nice enigmatic character, but good heart. When he deals with the bakers, it's always a sad scene when he deals with the bakers.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of which,
I guess let's start with the bakers.
All right. Oh God, Dragon! I definitely think the Bakers are the most tragic characters in both the show and the
They
book.
are. Oh my god, the Kate Walsh plays Olivia Baker.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
wowed me in many places, and I think two scenes in particular. They're two really powerful.
It's such a realistic portrayal of like how parents handle teenagers, where they're not perfect, they're loving, but they're not perfect, and those imperfections are just going to eat at them their whole lives from now on.
Exactly. I love how they have like a small business and everything. They have like a very kind of like it's a kind of a human kind of sort of like
Mm-hmm.
you can understand why their attention might be a little off from Hannah in places, but again, that why you understand like they build like kind of this nice little kind of structure of like okay, well you understand why they're making sure their business isn't going fledgling. So it's not too big a business, but it's like they're not like corporate executives. Like you're not your Charlotte Pickles type, where they can be
Oh
completely
God!
distracted. But they're
Right.
at the same time, it's like okay, they got their own problems, and they're going to trust their daughter's kind of in a nice headspace. But they're still loving. Like if something was really wrong, they assume that she'd come to them, and they'd be able to help her out. So it's just kind of that sort of thing. In the aftermath, there, it's like it's so you feel so bad for them that these are the parents who are like basically the school's not giving them anything because they're planning on suing the school.
Mm-hmm.
And like the heartbreaking scene for me with Olivia is like that scene where she goes in the bathroom and she sees just like all the
Of
writing,
course, of course.
like
Ugh.
it's staring her right in the face. This is what drove your.
It's so rough. It's so rough.
And the scene I was dying over was like, oh guys, when she had that scene with Clay where Clay was let inside the house, and it was like, oh, if Clay could only tell her. He gave her that hint with the magazine, and he helped her out in that capacity. Well, that was just that might have been the father who gave the magazine. I can't quite recall, but the point is, just had that scene with Olivia. I just wanted, oh, can't Clay tell Olivia? Come on.
But
Come on, these poor people have been through enough. And Andy has one of the. I gotta highlight this, and I guess that's all I got. So again, they're both really good, and I love that Olivia gets that thing at the end where she gets like the audio tapes. She gets the cassette tapes all on the flash drive that Tony finally has. He's been dangling along this whole time. Finally gives her the thing he wishes he can get from the very beginning. And Andy has this great scene where he calls out Porter. I'm like, God help any students that come talking to you.
yeah, for sure.
Everybody's like puts the article down there, which is unfortunately they're levered, so they kind of screwed themselves there. But again, it worked out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because this guy going through an uphill battle, and and he's dealing with the infamy post suicide. That's what that's what we get to see with Andy and Olivia. That they're really kind of dealing with the infamy as well. After the child has committed suicide, and which is mounting on the pain they're already feeling. So again, your heart goes out to the Baker parents.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get to the other parents then, the Jensens.
Yes, I like the Jensens. I like Matt Jensen, the father. He's a very laid back, cool dad. I love the Jensens weren't conventional. They're very like they at the turn of every convention you can imagine of like, okay, you're grounded for misunderstandings. They didn't go that way at all. They went the complete other direction. They're very anti-grounding, and they're very because they know they have a good kid here. He says, well let's not punish him. Just say, hey, keep the door open. Talk to us, man.
Right. The dad is hardly in the book whatsoever.
Well, he's kind of hardly in this. Well, I can't say hardly in this series. I mean, he's there, but not the mother's more of the focus.
The mother is actually, believe it or not, one of the more there's this really heartfelt moment with the mother where it's like Clay is Clay is kind of like on the phone lying to her about why he's out, and she's just like, oh, Clay, okay, Clay, like good luck with your school project. But he can tell in her voice that she doesn't believe him and that she's like really worried about him. And I feel like that element of her character definitely showed through in the series. You know what I mean? They really took that. I feel like in the book it's a little more powerful because it's just like a couple moments, and in the series it's honestly like maybe perhaps they would have been better to do that stuff a little less than they did in the series. Like I said, in the book, it's like one or two moments of like Clay having to lie to his mom and feeling the guilt for that really drives the character. In the show, it's more just the mom is just, very like, there's a difference. But I do think, I do think that the mother definitely emphasizes Clay's guilt. I think that's really her main goal.
Yeah, because again,
purpose.
Yeah, because she means well, and you feel for her, but I like that she's proactive. I like that she's proactive in trying to reach out to, and we get to see again kind of what there is a message there about the parents kind of reaching and staying in the kids' lives, which again Laney does exemplify what she's trying to do here. I mean to keep saying exemplify. I'm just trying to find words here, folks. But it's a very like a proactive. She's proactive, but a little oblivious. That's kind of like she's a little oblivious in places to the mainly oblivious to the correlation between Clay and the school case that she's been offered. She runs this by him, and obviously after talking to Clay, you get a sense, okay, I shouldn't pursue this case.
Right.
I shouldn't pursue, suing. Like essentially, she's not suing the school. She's on the school, defending the school, essentially. Yeah, right. I mean, she is defending the school.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
And again, it's. The last thing I'll say about both is like the mix is kind of they're both in line with who Clay is. Again, it's kind of the laid back, kind of nice everyman being the father, and kind of the proactiveness of the mother. They're both kind of mixed. You can see where Clay gets it from with these folks. That's a nice little detail there. Okay, I guess real quick, I got two more left here. Then we'll just fire into essentially the episodes. Sky, I think is kind of a cosmic second chance for Clay. It's like a cosmic. You can save Hannah again through Sky. It's kind of
that's definitely how it works in the book as well. There's not much of a difference between. I think the main thing that they added in the series was Clay noticing the cuts on her arm. That was like a big kind of point that really drove the point home. That wasn't necessarily in the book.
It was a nice bit.
That, yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't pleasant, but yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. It was nice that he caught it. That was like, oh man, he's gonna be there for one. Every other average Joe just gonna let it slide.
Right. Exactly.
It's a hopeful message.
Yeah. So Sky, like she is very much kind of the that ray of hope in a character who seems like she's hopeless that Clay can kind of bring her back from. So yeah, very nice very nice kind of punctuation at the end of this devastating circumstance that we've went through.
Yeah, it's like something he could only realize after bearing the pain of Hannah, after going through all he went through with Hannah. Now he's realizing it in others. So it just shows there's a hope for the upswing going forward.
Sure.
All right, let's go to this one. Go by real quick, Jeff.
Not in the book at all.
Really? Are you serious?
In the book, it's just a senior that dies in the car accident that Clay does not know at all.
Come on, I love Jeff.
I don't know, man.
Son of a.
I thought, to be honest with you, I think Jeff is a little like.
Jeff was nice.
Yeah, he's nice. That's about it.
Yeah, he gave. Honestly, he was just sort of a more. I'm trying to think. Sort of
he's a more helpful Yoda.
That's what I'm saying. He's more of a we have a more helpful version of Tony, essentially. I like that he, in a way, Jeff is kind of the reason that kind of Clay and Hannah got at least closer together, kind of motivated him to get close to Hannah. In play, of course, in the end, it obviously didn't pan out fully. I'm just saying, I like that he's one kind of gave Clay some pointers that would for him to socialize more, which got him closer to Hannah to make kind of certain choices.
Sure.
And again, it's like just also Jeff's is kind of also like another victim for the callousness of these human beings we're about to talk to.
Of course.
I use the term loosely, human beings.
So, Dragon, we've got a half hour, man. I hope we can get through this.
Great.
Yeah, we kind of spent a lot. Too much Dylan Minnette love, Dragon.
Don't put it on me for the Minetti love. Don't guilt me with Minetti.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying. You kind of went on about it, but okay. So tape number 1, Justin Foley.
Yes. So you start off.
Yeah, Justin is definitely a character. We'll get into it more of his second tape. Although the second tape is a little bit more ingrainious in terms of like what he actually does or says doesn't do. I definitely feel like I very much have a soft spot for Justin. I feel like by the end of the series, he very much turns around. In terms of the first kiss and everything like that, I don't know, it's more Bryce, to tell you the truth, man. It's just like all the stuff that Hannah blames Justin for is more kind of attributed to Bryce, because Bryce is the one that spreads the photo around. Like I genuinely feel bad for Justin in the circumstances of the first tape, because he, like, especially in the series more so than the book, because in the book he did kind of just genuinely like brag about it and spread lies and everything, but in the series it was more just like, like they were kind of egging him on about how his date went, and I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have had that picture. Maybe he should have deleted the picture. The picture wasn't necessarily part of the book, by the way, Dragon. It was more just the rumors of Justin kind of saying that things happened when they didn't. The picture, I guess, was just kind of like the visual punch that the series had. But I don't know, man. I just think like the picture being spread around by Bryce, it's like Justin has my sympathy in both of the cases, because we'll get to the later incident, but especially with the first incident, I don't really think it was his fault that picture got spread around. Like I said, the only thing is maybe take it off of your phone before you go to school in case your friends look through your phone. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Other than that, I just think Justin is kind of like he's a jock on the outset, but unlike Bryce, who is kind of like the physical embodiment of like all the evil, terrible things that you think when you think about a jock, Justin's kind of like the opposite of that for me. He's like kind of like the humanization of the jock character.
Well, here's what I'm going. I had on the rewatch, just kind of really breaking things down. I had more sympathy for Justin on the rewatch. I will say is that I still see, honestly, on the rewatch, I kind of read Justin as he sort of, if Clay went along with like these, if he, it seems like he is an innocent in places, but then he goes along with things. It's basically, what if Clay went along with it like everyone else? Like that's kind of the choice that he's kind of offered here and there by everyone else trying to pacify him. It's like, what if he was under the jock's wings, like they try to get him in the series a few times?
Sure.
And I feel like their goal is to make another Justin with that. So I see sympathy with Justin in that capacity, along with the crappy home life and everything. But at the same time, I see Justin. He's just kind of the spineless jock getting caught up in kind of in the storm of shaming that goes on, with Hannah, especially in this tape. That's essentially what's going on. The first inkling with Justin here. More horrible things with Justin transpire later on. Again, by Justin's hand, technically. We'll get there later. But, it's just it was so incidental. He gave her the first kiss, which kind of turned her first kiss into a personal trauma. That's essentially what this thing was about. It was like an innocent picture, like her going down the slide, which then he just kind of, I guess, noticed he had on the phone, which looked a little dirty, which the guys just kind of oh yeah, look at this, and then they turned it into essentially a slut shaming thing. That's what they turned it into.
Sure.
And again, the it was like, incidentally, just it looked a little suggestive, and given the wrong context, which Bryce sends it. Bryce sending it was what crucified Hannah to the whole school. That's what put forward these rumors. It's what put forward the bad reputation for everything. Mm-hmm. And Justin just went along with it. Again, Justin, it doesn't really seem evil on the whole compared to these other guys. It just seems spineless to me. That's what Justin is. He's just spineless.
For sure. Okay, let's move on to tape number 2. In the book, it was Alex first, but in the series, what?
Well, again, we had side A is Justin. Tape 1, side A is Justin. Tape 1, side B is Jessica Davis.
Okay, Jessica Davis. So Jessica is definitely the character that got the most development from the book to the show. I would wager to say that Jessica is almost kind of like a second, like a third protagonist in a way in the show, I think. Because I think throughout the show, like her whole journey, especially towards the later episodes, and realizing what happened to her, coming to terms and seeking help with it, that it's very powerful stuff. And it's not like in the book, it's more kind of like, they do go into detail about the Monets and stuff like that in the book, but after that, like, there's no kind of like, it's more so just Jessica slaps her and that's it. There's no kind of like residual stuff that goes on between Jessica and Hannah like there is in the series. And I don't know, I just think in the series, like I said, because they have the luxury of a few weeks worth of time as opposed to one night, they really can draw these characters out a lot more. In the book, the relationship between Jessica and Justin is kind of an afterthought, where obviously in the series it's more sort of a central focus to the both of them. So yeah, I definitely think in the series, Jessica was very much improved over the book version.
Right. And of course, what happens with Jessica, just to kind of make sure we go over like the crimes on the tape here.
Sure.
It's based on, of course, what happens with Jessica is it's based on the untrue rumors that, again, I do love the continuity of like how we keep weaving the tapestry of like, okay, because of this leads into this story. Basically, we see like how Hannah's thing keeps kind of growing and getting worse as the thing goes on. So it starts based on the.
I don't know. It's like I kind of feel like Alex's tape should have been before Jessica's, just because Jessica's is affected by Alex's list.
That's true, and that's debatable. I'm saying you're right though, in that they both kind of could have been switched possibly, but I still think Alex is like a follow up as to why, and I think that's still why it's like in the order it's in. That's just my theory on it.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, the point is, based on the untrue rumors, Jessica just blindly assumes Alex broke up with her because because he went with the quote unquote easy friend, because he went with the these three were a trio of friends, and like, oh well, just went to the other one because the rumor was she was easy, and that again that's one, that's an offensive assumption that Jessica's making.
Of course, of course.
Being her friend, because they're a really nice way. I love the way they kicked off their friendship, just being introduced again. I like how the school is just kind of as a symbols, like factoring in like a lot of the traumas that Hannah's endured. Like, hey, we're gonna put you together with a little friend here, and then, well, as it turns out here, of course, she hits, and this is what cheeses me. She hits Hannah like she's like Hannah's the bad guy, as she's calmly and rationally explaining what happened. Jessica's just not listening to anything. Just hits her and embarrasses her and traumatizes her. I mean that. Again, just Jessica, she just really just. I think Jessica's thing is she also had kind of a high. She becomes more sympathetic as the thing goes on. But I think she just like had a high opinion of herself in the very beginning.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is why she was kind of gravitating towards the jocks in the beginning too. I think it was just that's sort of like kind of the status that she had. She just kind of went up the food chain. Then over time, that being up. She kind of fell off the pedestals it went on. That's where she kind of became more grounded and more sympathetic.
All right.
Okay, tape 2, side A.
Yeah.
Alex Standall,
yeah. Again, I feel like as we're going through these early characters, they're very sympathetic. I think Alex, what he did was shitty. You know what I mean? Like the list. I mean, the list is very much kind of the. Like if the kiss was sort of the the match being struck, the list was lighting the fuse. You know what I mean? The list was the fuse going off. The list kind of really started putting everything in motion. But the thing with Alex, like I said, is that it was kind of just a childish thing that he did that he wishes he could take back, and he had no idea that it would affect everything as much as it did. And Dragon, it's just that's kind of a terrifying thing with this show. I feel like is. You kind of like the show kind of causes you to look back on things you've done over your own life that were, immature and childish, and kind of wonder what effect that's had on the people around you. Like, I know it's caused that sort of introspection with me. And I definitely think Alex represents that. I think he represents, like I said, kind of like the immaturity of high school getting the better of you and the unforeseen circumstances that it can cause other people.
Yeah, I mean the great thing with Alex, I think, short of maybe Zach, I think more so than Zach, if I really have to come down on it, I think Alex is probably the most sympathetic out of all of these characters. Well, not counting Clay,
Obviously, not counting Clay. I would definitely say that as well. Like Zach is a sweet guy, but especially in the book, I think the book gets into more detail about what Zach does affects Hannah, but we'll get to that one.
Because I mean, Alex seems genuinely remorseful. Because after all, but how the series kind of does, it's like the three were like really good friends, and like again, he just feels bad that he objectified, not only just objectified girls, mainly objectified Hannah was the reason. Again, yeah, match if you're him listening to these tapes in this particular, it's like, oh god, this bad thing happened before me. Right. That it was all my fault. Now, of course, me just compounding onto that. He's remorseful and he's begging for punishment in any form. And the great thing with Alex, really, especially in the real estate, I love that he's like someone looking for punishment in a system that continues to turn a blind eye, because he's in like this position that under any other circumstance would be like like the best position to be in, where again he can't get arrested because again his father's sheriff.
Sure.
Or it's like the man saying, "Please, I did it. Punish me," and no one again, as we see in a great scene later on. Again, so he's literally just begging for punishment. He's not getting any of that.
Uh-huh.
And there's also the closest thing Clay has to a friend in this group. Also, like, because he and Alex kind of chats about it, and Alex wants to tell him, but he just can't because he doesn't want to compromise the whole fear that's over these tapes.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, tape 4, Tyler Downs. Oh boy.
Well, tape 2, side B.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm tired.
All right, you're right, Tyler Downs.
Ooh. Okay, this is where it starts getting into like nefarious, like.
Yeah, this mother son of a. Yeah. This little piece of thing on my shoe. This guy.
I mean, like he gets a lot of shit, but he gets a lot of shit for very good reason.
This little pissant makes me sick, Tiki. He really does.
Oh god, oh god. So you have no sympathy over the whole bullying thing?
No, I think he deserved what he
He
got.
deserves it. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
He's this intrusive. He's intrusive stalker without a little inkling of sympathy. Or that's what I got from him. He invades Hannah's privacy, which leaves all the Hannah Courtney drama, which we'll get into very shortly. Led to a very very public humiliation because he wants his work to be noticed. He just wants to be noticed in some capacity. He's a scumbag who gets poetic justice. That's what this kid does.
Yeah, I don't really think there's much more to say about it beyond that. I definitely think Tyler is actually one of the even though he comes up pretty early on the tapes, I feel like he's one of the more inexcusable actions, outside of people like Bryce, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And look, I get what they're going for with him. They're going for like, oh, he doesn't fit in. That's just kind of that's kind of his thing. He's an outsider, and he's just trying to. It's his way of getting in on the world. I'm not going to give him any of that dignity. Like, come on.
fair enough, fair enough.
Okay, tape 3, side A. Oh boy, this one right here. This lady, if she had an initial, would be a 4-letter word beginning with C. It's Courtney Crimson.
Yeah, Dragon, this shocked you, but as I said, Dragon, in the book, as bad as she is in the show, she is 10 times worse in the book.
It's really hard for me to believe that one, but
Hannah goes into detail about how much of like a queen bee she is, and how like she is like super nice to everyone to their face, but like, oh, I fucking hate you behind their back. You know what I mean? Like, and she just goes out of her way. She makes it like a game to make sure that every single person in the school likes her, and she'll go out of her way to make that happen. And Hannah was just like an unfortunate byproduct of that. Now, Dragon, the most disgusting thing from the book that was not in the show is basically like as part of the Tyler thing, Hannah opened, like they're trying to egg Tyler on to take more photos as they know he's outside the window taking photos. And so basically Courtney opens a dresser and kind of insinuates that she might have some shall we say some private things in her dresser, shall we say some private things in her dresser.
some after-hour playthings, let's say.
Yeah. The actual photo that Tyler takes of Courtney and Hannah isn't as incriminating. It's just Hannah giving Courtney a back rub instead of a kiss.
Yeah.
The real scumbag move of Courtney is she avoids Hannah for weeks after the picture gets out, just completely giving her the cold shoulder. B, she invites Hannah to a party, basically just so she can get a ride off of Hannah, basically just freeloading for a ride and nothing else. She ditches Hannah at the party the minute they arrive. She's basically like, so I think we should split up. And then Dragon, then the bitch proceeds to basically just like, oh yeah, that thing I made up about the things in Hannah's dresser. I'm totally just gonna spread rumors about that. Just completely unfounded. Like she's like the thing is, Dragon, like in the show, at least she's like put into a vulnerable position where she kind of has to lie. In the book, there's really no explanation. It's just suddenly at the party, everyone's coming up asking Hannah about her playthings. You know what I mean? It's like it's really just unprovoked, out of nowhere malice on Courtney's part. So yeah, Courtney, just see you next Tuesday, Courtney. That's all I can say.
Let's see. Just with you know what really just gets me with Courtney is that here's the thing. She's all smiles, and from the very beginning, like her first action, like in regards to Clay, she walks up, she hugs him, saying, "Oh, Clay, let me be here for you."
Right.
We all have to come together for Hannah, and Courtney also, she just represents the whole like we're making the death about ourselves. Like we're trying to bolster ourselves after this passing. And what's really despicable about Courtney, not even just all the stuff which I guess aside from this, like the things that she insults Hannah's honor after her death with the tapes. Like when they had their little Illuminati meetings, when they have their little meetings, like the group that are just kind of again. I wish we had like a name aside from Illuminati to describe like kind of the taped group. All the despicable people on the tapes. Except Bryce and except for Clay. Those two guys aren't in these meetings. Pretty much everyone else is in the meetings. Well, and Porter, sorry. And points with Courtney, basically she's the one who keeps saying, I want to make this clear, she's the one who keeps putting forward, Hannah's lying. She must be lying. Of course, the only thing everything could be corroborated very obviously, except for the Jessica rape. That's the only thing. That's the only reason that she thinks there might be a lie on there, and she's basically using that one possibility of a lie, because obviously Jessica wouldn't admit it, or Justin. She's using that one possibility of a lie to just say, "Oh no, all of it's fake. All of it's fake. She didn't mean any of it. We can always plausible deniability." Yeah, just trying to throw him under the bus. You despicable little. Yeah, she gets. Sorry.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I'm just like, yeah, she's pretty despicable.
Yeah, just there was Hannah and then some other. There was like another girl too. So there was them under the bus for the photos. Say, oh boys, what a despicable. She's a hypocrite of the highest order. That's what she is.
Yeah. Big time.
Just she victimizes innocent people. So she doesn't get victimized. She victimizes innocent people. Just so despicable. I hate this girl. Someone cuts her pipelines. Let's move on.
Who's next?
It gets worse.
Really Mean Steve is Really Mean Steve.
Yes. So
explain the real mean.
Yes. So we're on tape 3, side B. Marcus Cole, and Marcus Cole, folks, just brings up
Marcus Cooley.
I'm sorry, Cooley.
Which is a despicable last name, by the way.
It's spelled Cole. It's at least in the Netflix series spelled Cole, but you're right. It's Cooley. You're right, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, so essentially, real quick, is that Marcus kind of reminds us of Steve from Chronicle. The Michael B. Jordan character from Chronicle. Was he was running for class president.
The nice student politician who's like a really nice politician, just a very, very down-to-earth guy.
Was there a Marcus in Chronicle?
I want to say there was.
That's the thing. I think that's what got us on the whole. That's where we got the Chronicle thing from.
I'm gonna look this up, but go ahead.
The point is if there is a character named Marcus in the thing or not. The point is just this guy was on our mind because he was the whole school president. Things like a real kind of what if basically really nice Steve from Chronicle was a real scummy politician type in the high school.
Basically, how Two-Face has Big Bad Harv as an alter ego.
Yeah, just what if Marcus was really being Steve on the side?
Really being Steve.
So the point is just like essentially what Marcus is again with the student honor council.
There was
it's
a
like
Matt in Chronicle, not a Marcus.
That's what it is. Okay. The point is we just kind of happened upon mainly because of the whole he was going for student president. Essentially, what Marcus is doing in the series, he's on the scholarship. He's a scholarship hound. He's a selfish scholarship hound. That's the best way to describe Marcus. And he's like one of the big heads on the student honor councils. That's what brought us to that comparison. That's why we call him really mean Steve. The point is this guy. The thing that pisses me off about Marcus, I really hate this guy. I hated when he frames Clay. What a scumbag! I really want to kick this guy's tooth
with the weed. Oh yeah.
That to me, I hate that injustice there. That Clay, there's no investigation, nothing. Mm-hmm. There's no follow up to anyway. The point is, just Marcus. He thinks he's untouchable. It's like one of those. He's like he's not necessarily. I forget if he's on a scholarship thing, so he may be a jock or.
Oh, he's definitely a jock, yeah.
Right, because he had I forgot if he had the jacket. I don't know why. Obviously, they were all wearing jackets in the thing. The point is, he's thinks he's untouchable. It's like the untouchable jacket. Oh, a lot of these bad guys here. They're like one of the. They're like. I lost the word for it. It's like like the parents who have the ins with the schools, like the alumni school. They're like a children of alumni type vibe with them. They come from a pedigree sort of vibe with all these kids. Like, hey, sports.
Which I could definitely relate to in my middle school experience, so yes. Okay.
Anyway, he attempts to show off how much of a ladies' man he is with the quote-unquote easy girl in public in front of all the jocks on the side. Essentially, he assaults her.
He straight up tries to molest her.
Exactly. Let's call
a spade a spade.
Yes. Spade, yes.
It's just really just the start of Hannah's story where it's like, okay, like she is not, she's not only has this reputation, there's people that are trying to take advantage of said reputation.
And again, all because of that photo that got around. Like people actually just because there was like talk of like doing stuff to her, but then actually like Bryce like feeling her up here and there, and then we have obviously
that's also a very powerful moment in the book. You want to know something really intriguing about Bryce in the book, Dragon, just to kind of build him up?
What?
In the book, we don't know his name until his chapter.
Really?
Yeah, in the book, he's just kind of like this. Oh, and there's him. He's basically known as him.
Oh wow, that
Yeah,
sounds cool.
yeah. I mean, it's not again, Dragon. I want to make sure that we're using like the correct terminology here. I nothing about the Bryce character is cool, but they do a
Oh,
good job of
that's
they
evil.
they they do a good job of building up like the suspense of his character and like, oh man, this is a really bad guy. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Drag. I don't mean to be sensitive about the the name stuff. It's kind of like a weird version of the pronouns. I do not even want to start with the pronoun thing, but it's just like I want to be sensitive. Like I don't want to be like, oh yeah, Bryce, man, that's cool. Like Bryce is like the reason why a lot of people I know don't want to watch the show. Let's just put it that way. So,
I have stuff to say on Bryce when we get to him. But let's say
I'm sure we do. Yeah.
so last thing I really have on Marcus, because we can go in circles on how terrible Marcus is all day, but not as much as the other guy. But we'll get to him later. The point is, another just kind of basically a socializing opportunity that the school has put forward. The school is kind of still through line throughout the thing, as you would imagine, being high school. Essentially, Marcus perverts a socializing opportunity the school allowed for Hannah. It's again the whole Dollar Valentine thing, an opportunity that may, if I could be misremembering it, and maybe the book will clarify. I don't know, but the whole thing where. She was maybe matched with Clay, but then they fudged the results, so she would end up with Marcus or someone else.
No. She just in the book, how they explain it is that Clay basically just like goofed off on his answers and answered them.
All right.
In the book, it's kind of a funny explanation. Like Clay wrote all the answers as Holden Caulfield from Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, that's great.
Which in turn got him a lot of like requests from like desperate lonely girls who he had no interest in.
Oh, I love that. That's clever. See, in the show, what they did.
So that's why he didn't match with Hannah, was because he just wasn't taking it seriously at all.
And Jeff, in the show, Jeff gave him cool guy answers, which is why he didn't end up with Hannah, most likely.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I knew you'd like the Catcher in the Rye thing.
Holden Caulfield.
Yep.
Okay. So I guess moving on.
Yeah, take us through the order of Dragon. It kind of
Tape
muddles.
4.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. One more thing to add about Marcus, just to set a character in the book. The Marcus chapter is where we're introduced to Sherry, and Sherry is the cheerleader who sells Hannah her dollar Valentine, and she's with Hannah when she sets up the date with Marcus. And it's kind of like this fun sort of like, cutesy girly moment. Like, Sherry's getting all excited. Like, oh, wait till I tell all the other cheerleaders about it. They're going to be stoked that we, like she's all excited to play matchmaker and stuff.
Matchmaker, make me.
So I just want to set that up because that's where Sherry and Hannah know each other from the book.
Right.
When Sherry comes back into the story. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, go.
Okay, next, this one probably go by relatively fast. We got tape 4. Side A, Zach Dempsey.
Zach Dempsey, yeah.
Or Moose from Riverdale.
He's not Moose, Dragon. He's Reggie.
Wait, what? Darn it! I keep going stupid. I'm sorry. I don't know why. Sorry.
Okay.
Reggie.
It's okay.
I feel so
things
stupid.
up too, Dragon. It's fine.
Sorry, Reggie from Riverdale.
Yeah, Zach, I feel like in both the book and the show is just sort of like the goofy sidekick to the evil jocks who doesn't even realize that the jocks are evil to a certain extent. And I don't know, Dragon, in the book, it goes into more detail about how Hannah absolutely needed those notes of encouragement at that time in her life, and how taking that away from her was like a big deal. You know what I mean? I feel like in the book they emphasize it a lot more than they do in the show, which is why I've heard the criticism of the show being like, oh, it seems like especially coming off of Marcus basically like molesting her, to Zach, like doing something that seems kind of petty in comparison. But the thing with the book is that, like, even though, yeah, sure, it's not as invasive as what Marcus did, but it kind of was even more devastating on a personal level, just to know that someone would sink that low.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think it's an interesting kind of contrast. Zach, I do feel like I said, in the book, he's not really portrayed as a bad guy or anything like that. He's just kind of portrayed as like a little bit childish. He's kind of like, like a less remorseful Alex. Let's say that's kind of how I
Yeah,
describe him.
exactly. That's why I kind of say they're a little bit like in terms of like like kind of forgivability. I mean, you have he's very remorseful, and Zach just like he's remorseful, but he's also it's more in the line of like he's the kid who will apologize so he doesn't get punished, sort of thing.
Exactly. So
Like he somewhat means it, but at the same time, it's like he didn't think of the consequences. That's the thing. Like he acted on instinct.
mhm.
So yeah, with Zach, he says it was such a minor, petty move that just really hurt Hannah unnecessarily. And that's I love how cheesed off Clay gets at Zach for this, and because it was such. Basically, this is the thing that kind of made her feel isolated, because no one else would say a kind word about it. It is what made her feel alone. And again, that's a really you're right though. It
And I
is.
got to tell you, man, from my personal experiences, the feeling of isolation is the absolute fucking worst. So
And all because, for very stupid reason, all because she didn't trust his offer of help as genuine. All because, like, he offered, like, genuinely offered, like, oh, man, it's really crap what we did. Yeah, I assume it was genuine with his offers, given later
in the
stuff.
book, it seemed like it was, yeah.
Anyways, the point is, he's just being real genuine with the
And
offer.
you know
But
what?
who
In the
could,
book, Hannah even acknowledges that she thinks he was genuine. She just wasn't ready to talk to him.
exactly. I mean, in the show, I mean, who could you blame her for not buying, like, instantly after it happened, someone taking pity and like, no, come on.
Right.
Wouldn't buy it. Yeah, again, just basic kind of levels of trust, and then he just does something so petty. And again, he's second to Alex, probably the most remorseful. And again, he's like he's willing to take justice as punishment versus like taking and accepting responsibility, which at the end he's willing to do. But initially, just he'll take Clay's form of justice as punishment. He's like, yeah, he deserves it. He doesn't want doesn't want to get in big trouble. It's like, I'll take any little trouble just because I deserve punishment on some level.
Sure.
So again, Zach, he always has like a level of sympathy in some capacity.
Okay. All right. So now we get to Ryan, right?
Yes, we get side B, Ryan Shaver.
Oh man, in the book and the movie, this guy is just kind of an afterthought.
Yeah, basically, I was actually like one line of notes dedicated to him.
Oh God. Okay.
Really, just the he betrayed Hannah's trust by publishing her private poems. Not even giving her feelings.
In the book, the poem is like a lot less intimate than it is in the show.
Well, again, it's a plot point that shows they have to make it intimate.
Of course, right.
Well, I'm just saying, they have to use something.
In the book, the actual problem is more just sort of like people dissecting it and less the content of the poem. And in the show, of course, it's more like the risque nature of some of the lines in the poem.
Yeah, I like how the poem works in the in the show, where it's like, okay, it's putting more and more blame on like people for not realizing someone was in crisis during this, and that's like a nice little thing to use against kind of the school.
That's how they play it in the book too, for sure.
And again, if I were really looking at all these, I'd say the like Ryan's one of the guys who kind of had the least worst thing done to Hannah in the grand scheme, because again, it's like they were working together. It's just kind of jumped the gun on her. But importantly, is the main takeaway for why Ryan did was wrong is that he didn't give her feelings a thought, which that's what's really sticking her. That's why she put him on the ticket, because he just did it without even thinking about her, like just without considering feelings, like many other people have done. Just did in a public forum. So, yeah,
that's about it.
It's about it. Just Ryan's just he's there. Okay. All right. Take 5A. Justin Foley again.
Oh God. Okay. This is where I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of heat for defending this guy. God, this is gonna be
again. I put it under the banner of he's spineless. That's what he is. He's just spineless. He's not evil. He's a coward.
Here's the thing, Dragon. I very much agree with you that what happens here is a spineless act for sure. Having said that, I kind of feel like Bryce is more to blame for Justin. And in the tapes, Hannah even kind of acknowledges that Justin is on the tapes just so she doesn't have to talk about Bryce more than she has to.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, it's great.
And she kind of like relays the story of what happened to Jessica through Justin instead of Bryce for that reason.
Nice.
And she even does have a moment of genuine sympathy with Justin on the tapes, like, Justin, sweetie, this isn't just on you. I was in that room too. I could have done something and I didn't. You know what I mean?
Which is a foreshadow for what happens later on, just kind of having the freeze response, which we do see, especially later on.
Of course, of course. So, just my perspective on Justin, like, it's not like Justin called Bryce over and be like, hey, dude, come over and have some fun with my passed out girlfriend. No, it was Bryce taking advantage of the situation, literally shoving Justin away, locking the door. Like, what could Justin have done in that situation? It was just a really, really, really shitty position for Justin to be in. And so, like I said, in the book, I do give Jay Asher a lot of credit for writing in the part where Hannah is genuinely like, she's sorry to have to include Justin on the tape again. She understands. She takes responsibility for what happened to Jessica herself equally as much as she blames Justin. So yeah, like I said, Dragon, this is definitely the most morally gray event of the series, I think. What do you think?
Well, yes, I agree with you for the TK. I agree with you for like 80% of that. I do.
Okay.
I think that the lingering 20% is that, yeah, again, there was a lot of fun. Like, again, a decision should have been made there. He should have like stood up to him in that moment, but he didn't because he's so under the guy's thumb. He's so like, he's in a way he's looking up to the guy and just doesn't realize what he's asking for in that moment because they're both a little out of sorts. Both kind of drunk and just kind of like, they're really
sure.
So it's like a moment of weakness that Justin, and the thing, I really want to hit upon just like something we didn't really talk about here is to kind of cover some villainous stuff Justin has done. So he's really been peacocking himself, really been trying to kind of bolster himself to intimidate Clay, which is, he's been you got to remember, Justin has been the one orchestrating all the scare tactics because Bryce doesn't know.
I feel like Justin's doing that out of desperation though, and I feel like the show does a good job of showing the desperation.
Sure, it's still this is the reason I'm like more against. Initially, at the very least, I was really against Justin because all these petty, really sadistic things Justin did to Clay. Always, the scene that really pisses me off with the forcing. And again, Bryce is involved in this one though. Like, he kind of forces Clay to drink. Otherwise we're gonna beat that. That's such a BS scene to me in a way. It was well shot, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, it's like in the moment, he's like, oh god, it's so not right. Where they're forcing Clay to buy like malt and then drink it.
Right.
In an alleyway, and again, he's kind of helpless in the situation because they literally say to him, "Or we're going to beat the crap out of you if you don't beat the crap out of both of you guys." And him and Alex. So, and also, of course, taking his bike, which I like that Clay does linger on that in the scene later on, just brings up the whole, again, just this page took his bike.
Interesting thing about the bike.
Yeah, what about
in the book? Hannah owns the bike.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened? Did she give it to Clay, or she
gave it to Tony?
Oh.
Because she gave it to Tony, and that's kind of when Tony realized something was up. I'll get into it more when I get into the moment with Tony, but yeah.
Last example I have, and then we move on. With Justin, there's one sadistic thing that Justin did. Again, he's orchestrating these things, and out of all these, the really sadistic thing he did was that car stunt. They force Clay into the car, and then they're driving like at 80, like God knows how many miles per hour, and of course they get away scot free because basically they're showing him, hey, we can do anything we want. We're untouchable because we got Alex with us here. His father's the sheriff. So, you're basically don't step out of line.
Sure.
So I'm just saying, Justin has a lot of red on his ledger, to quote the Avengers. He's got a lot of red on his ledger.
Fair enough.
Okay. Moving on to side B, Sherry Hunt. Speaking of red on the ledger, oh boy. So Sherry, I love the payoff with Sherry. So Sherry is like, she was starting to get a little close to the Clay and the present. They're kind of hitting it off, and essentially, the most seemingly innocent person who promises, "Oh, you're Clay. How far have you gotten tapes?" She wants Clay to not go through the rest of the tapes because you're gonna find out what happened. You're gonna hate me when you find out what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, boy, did it deliver what she did.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, Dragon. Like, in the moment, if I'm being completely honest with myself, like I don't drive, okay? Like, I will never drive because of my anxiety. But if I'm being honest with myself, Dragon, I would probably be in self-preservation mode myself in a situation like that. Just taking a hard look in the mirror, you know what I mean? So in the book, there's something really powerful where I don't think it gets emphasized as much in the show, is that, like, Hannah and Sherry kind of part ways in a very sort of like heated way. Like Sherry essentially just kicks Hannah out of the car and drives off. And of course, this is after the two have their little bonding moment with the dollar Valentine, which of course is another, like after that, it's like, of course, she doesn't, she hard for her to see Sherry after that. And, Sherry says she's at least going to call the police. Hannah calls the police a little later on, right?
Well, she has to walk. She has to get a phone because I think her phone's dead.
Well, I'm just saying in the book.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So she calls the cops to report an accident, right? Mm-hmm. And the cops just inform her right away, like, oh, we already know about the accident, ma'am. And so she's like, oh, Sherry actually called. Wow, I'm proud of her. You know what I mean? But then the cop informs her of the actual accident, the accident that killed the senior. And you can imagine, like, the guilt on Hannah. Like, that's how she found out about it, was calling the police and finding out that someone died and everything like that over the stop sign. And she's sure it was because of the stop sign. Yeah, really rough stuff. Really rough stuff.
It's really hard to rank, like, most depressing moment in this show. There are a lot of really most depressing moments in this show. But
I definitely think the bathtub has to.
I know. I'm just saying that this basically imagine the first thing you watch, and as you're going through like this one, like until all the really bad stuff happened at the very end, like all like the. This was really up there for me because again, the way this played, just this idea, and again, something so. She basically abandoned the scene of an accident. Sherry abandoned the scene of an accident, which of course led to the death of one of Clay's friends, Jeff. And that to me, oh god! Again, that's I think the benefit of getting to know the guy. You get to know Jeff, and you have to establish like a little bit. Like he kind of embraces the Clay-Hannah relationship, and you got Clay to the party, and of course that party. Well, Jeff gets him to the party in a way. Remember, Jeff's the guy who keeps like kind of talking Clay into going to these sort of things. Which again, of course, the party scene's a very huge thing in the show. Well, in the story, I guess. Point is, I like identifying it that way. So and the fact that I love how in this kind of this installment on, we're really centering around that party. That party, a lot of important things happened.
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And
same way in the book. In the book, it's also a trifecta of like, okay, we're going to tell you a series of stories that took place in one party.
And again, I love that. Like after Clay and Hannah had their big thing, it's like basically they're both kind of going separate ways, and they both kind of coalesce again at this tragedy we have here, where we're again like Clay's leaving, and Jeff and
in the book it's very much emphasized that Clay and Hannah are on the street at the same time, lost in their own thoughts at the same time as this whole thing is going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And again, like the idea also, like as Clay and Hannah were kind of split apart after that scene, they're really split apart over this. It's basically, Jeff is the point of no return for them. It's like, at least in the series, that's the way it plays. Where the whole, Hannah just like she tries to reach out to Clay, and Clay thinks just her being a little off since that scene in the bedroom, just being like, she's wrapped up in her own stuff. She doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know, I'm not going to listen to anything she has to say because he's really distraught over what happened to his friend. And the fact that because of what Sherry did, Jeff was insulted after his death too, with the whole drunken on the because
of course,
and right. That I love I love all the little things that Clay does to get justice, like when he goes to the parents and he explains what happened. That was really a classy move. I love that scene. Okay, So the point is, Sherry did something really incidental, but understandable. You can understand like you fleeing this. You understand the pressure in that moment, but still, she really just should have stayed there, seen it back. At least someone would have seen. Okay, well let's not go that way because there's a car there.
Right.
It's just really it's a shame what happened there. Okay. Sherry, for shame, Sherry, for shame. Okay. Tape 6A. All right, it's Clay.
Yeah, it's Clay. In the book, oddly enough, the Clay chapter happens before the Sherry chapter, I guess just because it's going in chronological order.
Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah.
But I don't know, that's not really entirely, because the Justin thing happens before Clay, too, which is not in chronological order, so... No. I think the series gets it better with having Clay be the climax of the party episodes.
Yeah.
This is in my opinion the best episode of the series.
Definitely, it's definitely there. And those last three episodes of the 11, 12. Yeah, the last three episodes of the series is it's kind of a trifecta of really excellent episodes. But yeah, you're absolutely right. 11. This is the one. Honestly, going into this is the one you've been waiting for because I just love that promise in the beginning of the series of okay, hey, well, Clay, you're on again. Our seemingly innocent protagonist. We have no idea what he's done. He's on there for some reason. But, oh my god, he doesn't even know what he did. Why? Why are we taking so long? Because that's the thing. Without looking on Wikipedia, like when he's going to be in the future, like I had no idea when Clay was going to come. Like, okay, come on, get to the next, get to the next one. I'm dying to know.
In the book, they do this great thing where it's like as soon as like the subject comes up, like for example, the Ryan chapter and the poetry comes up, it's like, nope, definitely not me.
Again, there's that build of everyone saying, "Oh boy, when Clay gets to his tape, oh we gotta try to get him on our side before we reach this thing," because they know.
That's actually one of the cons in the series for me is that they kind of like build up like that Clay did something horrible when he didn't.
Well, no, the build up. I think what the reveal is that they know like now he's going to be dead set on getting on, taking us down after that tape.
Sure. So yeah,
I assume that's
Clay's whole involvement is just kind of a wrinkle in this, and Dragon, I can say, like as Asher was developing the book, he had 11 of the 13 stories, and then of course Clay was the 12th one that he came up with. Mr. Porter being the 13th one. Mr. Porter will talk about that is also like kind of very true to life stuff that he's gone through in regards to like guidance counselors kind of being ignorant to certain things. But Clay is very much kind of the wrinkle that gets thrown into the whole mix. Like he is and I think Hannah very much intended for that. Like I think Hannah very much intended for him to, like her story needed to be told through him. She really wanted to give an explanation as to the actions, and I don't really have many differences between the book and the show, Dragon, because I think this chapter is very much like identical to the way the book handles it, with Tony driving him around, Tony being there for him, and I think the one scene I think they emphasize Clay's reaction even more in the series, because there's definitely the moment on the cliff, but I think on the series it's much more emphasized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I don't know, man. Just again, Minetti's acting and his desperation and his like, I killed her, Tony. I killed her. I could have saved her, and I didn't. It's god. And it just shows what a nice guy Clay is, because Hannah genuinely does not think Clay deserves to be on the tapes. He just has to be for context, and Clay is still just absolutely destroyed at what he could have done. Dragon, just a mesmerizing sequence for me is the alternate history.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh my God. The alternate history. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Meets the parents, and it's so walking down the hallway. Yeah. And here's the thing. Now I think this episode honestly is like the make or break for the series. Like if everything past this point will pay off or not. Honestly, because the promise of Clay, because you got to wonder from the very beginning if because Hannah's initial announcement of what these tapes are was very intimidating, saying you're on these tapes for if you're listening to this tape, that means you're on one of these for a reason.
Sure.
Very intimidating. You have to wonder if Clay did something like that. Was something incidental that kind of like with Sherry that turned bad. Which again, in terms of placement,
like I said, the worst thing that Clay does in the book is kind of feeds into the reputation by not really wanting to address Hannah.
And what I think the series one is that in terms of just how Clay factored into kind of everyone else is that it's always from a point of innocence of like he didn't know. Again, he just wasn't let in on it, or like he enjoyed the photo of Hannah and Courtney without knowing. Again, it was an innocent thing. He didn't know who it was. So again, it's like always from a point of like
there's also a lot more of an emphasis on the Crestmont in the show than there is in the book. In the book, it really only gets brought up a few times.
It is a nice little setting, though. It's kind of bonding over movies, and they're like in a little moviegoer uniform thing.
Sure.
Nice thing. Yeah, it gives them a chance to kind of see how basically the alibi of I knew her from work thing can be filled out.
Of course.
Essentially, my point is the whole thing was a make or break section, because I was concerned at the very beginning oh boy, if it's going to be Hannah putting blame on Clay for something that is most likely not Clay's fault, just given what the evidence I had the series went on, that would have been a problem, right? That would have been a problem if she's for a little thing put Clay on there for a reason of I blame you for this, which she did, which I was very pleased by. I was very, very relieved by. Okay, we're doing the smart thing here. We're going for again. That was the moment I was on the edge of please don't blame him for something, otherwise that's gonna really complicate things.
So,
Yeah, she just wanted him to hear it because he. But at the same time, I like the reason that Clay was her best chance for survival.
Right,
At the
right,
same time, so
exactly.
he is on there somewhat for a reason, but at the same time, again, it's to motivate Clay. It's what
Sure.
that tape's on there for. Okay,
Oh
uh,
boy.
side B.
Okay, Bryce Walker. Oh god.
Ooh, yes. Oh boy, so I
Dragon, I had a
guess
very experience. I had a very interesting experience watching the show, like knowing the name Bryce and knowing what he does. Like reading through those Wikipedia summaries before jumping into the show.
me, I had
So
no
it's
idea.
what?
Me, I had no idea.
So like I remember Bryce. Like one of the very first times you see Bryce, if not the first time, is during the pep rally when like Mr. Porter is giving this super genuine like this guy is like the heart and soul of school spirit.
Oh God,
He makes the student body proud. It's Bryce
meet the
Walker.
devil himself.
Right, right. And so of course I knew like oh boy, like I know bad things are going to be going on with this guy. Um Dragon, I gotta say though, one of the very interesting things about the show is how they do show these moments of genuineness with, especially with Bryce and Justin. You know what I mean? Like Bryce is a good friend to Justin. He really, genuinely, from the bottom of his heart, is, which means, he's. I hate to say it, Dre. It feels dirty saying it, but even Bryce has like a decent side to him, right? I feel like in the book he's much more villainous because in the book he's just sort of like like it's just Clay's perception of him where he's like going through girlfriends like used underwear and like treating them like meat and grabbing their wrists and stuff like that. I feel like in the show, like I said, the show does a good job of kind of like they almost humanize him to an extent where when the shit hits the fan with his character, it's almost a surprise. You know what I mean? Like they're building up that Bryce is on the tapes and he's, and they're, you know what I mean? There's kind of that build up where he's kind of separated from the Illuminati in a similar way that Clay is. I don't know. Now, let me talk about the event in the book because the book, believe it or not, Dragon, the event is a little bit more ambiguous in the book. Uh, in the book, it's essentially like basically if Hannah let Marcus go through with what Marcus was wanting to do, because at that point Hannah was just giving up. Oh, and here you're gonna love this. You're gonna hate to love this, Dragon. Okay, you know who could have stopped the event with Bryce? Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. Who was in the hot tub with Bryce and Hannah? Who just walked out of the hot tub as stuff was going down with Bryce? Take a wild
Courtney.
guess. Courtney. Yep, you're right. You're right. And Dragon Clay has a very cutting line at that moment in the book. He's like, as if people needed any more reasons to hate you, Courtney. It's no laughing matter though, and like I said, in I'll just say that Bryce. Oh God, I don't want to like use any sort of terminology here. I'm choosing my words very carefully here, Dragon. He doesn't go all the way with what he does with Hannah in the same way that he does with the show. Like it makes it a little bit more ambiguous where Hannah just kind of gives up and lets him do what he does with her, but it's not as I mean, it's bad. Like he more or less
Well,
molests
are you
her.
saying it's implied?
I'm saying he uses his hands.
That's
Yeah, yeah. Like
essentially what
whereas
Marcus was trying to do.
exactly, that's what I'm getting
Yeah,
at. That's what I'm getting at.
gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I want to say was also the initial rumor, if I'm remembering correctly, which is the rumor of what was going around in the
Mm,
first place.
right, right. And so in the book, that kind of just makes it like like it started with the rumor, and then Marcus attempted it, and then by the end,
Mm-hmm.
Hannah's so spent.
Fulfilled prophecy.
Right, right, right. Exactly, exactly. But in terms of the show, all I got to say about the show, man, that was the most hard to watch rape scene I have ever seen. Oh
Uh,
God,
and
just
you got to remember, of course, the opening of Bates Motel, there's a horrifying rape scene there. This
yeah,
is,
but
yeah,
that's nothing compared to this, though. I mean, not to
exactly.
not to discredit Bates Motel or anything, but this, it's just like just the close up on her face and how it doesn't cut, and you desperately want it to cut, but it doesn't
The
cut.
the best quality. Again, I want to make sure I'm saying best in terms of execution. I'm not saying best.
Of course, right.
The one of the great qualities this show captures is realism. The best element of realism in that thing, just to kind of piggyback what he's saying, is that it's what they've described a lot better on the Beyond the Reasons Why. Basically, the fight or flight response also has a middle tier, as a freeze response. Is flight, uh, fight, flight, and freeze. Now, freeze is just when you say you're have an out of body experience while it's happening. It's basically everyone's saying, "Oh, if it were me in that situation, I'd do something." Where in reality, there's also a chance you just might freeze because you're so traumatized in the moment. Just again, you're outside your own body. So that's essentially what Hannah goes through in this moment, and they capture it. So again, stuff that might blow your mind, like, "Oh my God, she's so terrified." We know she was so vulnerable of all the other traumas that just blew up to this moment, as we saw with Clay. In the previous scene, which is make sure we don't glaze over it completely because we kind of glazed over it, to make it relevant here.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the tragedy with Clay and Hannah is that they're really getting close, and again, they're getting hot and heavy. But unfortunately, the tragedy is after all these traumas she's endured, sexual assaults and trauma she's endured, all those negative thoughts come flooding to her when she's trying to get intimate with Clay. So she kind of takes him off.
Right.
And in here, it's kind of it's almost a similar thing where again she's the same way she was freezing with Clay, she's freezing here, but this is the moment that unfortunately where there's something much more tragic happens in place. A love doesn't transpire is like something far worse than that.
Mm-hmm.
So
and also one other thing to add about the episode, I don't love it because it's brutal, but just the artistry of the dripping water in the cold open.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But just on Bryce is the whole. I didn't really get my shots in on Bryce. Bryce just he's hedonistic. He's a hedonistic, no consequence, drug dealing jerk. That's what he is. That's what Bryce.
Laugh. It's like that basically sums him up.
It's the idea, and I love how on the rewatch this really seeds in Bryce in the very beginning. I had some layers to him. It's like, oh man, this guy's despicable from the beginning if you really pay attention. So the idea that he has again like a no consequence thing because the parents are constantly away. They're constantly again the rich highfalutin kind of like the Ivy League kind of parents. Most likely, I'm inferring. The point is that the parents are always out, like they're in the Alps or so. He calls them. They're like asking. Like, that's why he has the house to himself. He's walking around like he owns the place.
Sure.
He's the popular. He gives the popular kids the fix. He gives them the fix with the drugs and everything. He doesn't believe, and here's where this is what you're getting at. I think I can kind of word it maybe a little better. Is that it's that Bryce doesn't believe his actions have consequence. That's why he's so callous to the action. That's why he's out of the loop. It's a mix. It's the fact that he's out of the loop and it's kind of like the Aku thing we've been saying. Like, it's evil that doesn't realize it's being evil. That's kind of what Bryce is. Where in the very beginning, Bryce just kind of he's the guy on the outside. Like everyone's just kind of like laughing off, like, oh yeah, Bryce. It's just that, and that's why it really gets you. Like, oh my God, he's gotten away with such evil things. Where he just seems like this happy-go-lucky guy off to the side, where he's happy-go-lucky because he's not in the loop because he just doesn't realize, oh yeah, what I do has terrible consequence, and all these other people are really terrified of me.
Sure.
And that's where the only like remnant of like again not sympathy, but like you're so caught off guard by it because again he doesn't get it. He doesn't get what he's done is terrible. And that's why he just thinks like no what I did women are asking for. Come on. Mm-hmm. Again, he just does it with a smile. Like everyone wants to be raped. That's a horrible line that he says.
God.
Right. Again, just the way he mercilessly. We'll get there later on. So yeah, he's just terrible. Just he's the devil. Okay.
He's the devil. Okay.
He's the devil. Oh, but I want to give points again. The guy seems like such a nice guy.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
Because Beyond the Reasons, he seemed like such a nice, consummate guy. Like, he likes filmmaking. He's really clever. I like him. He seems really
like the hipster beard going on in the interview.
Right. He's got the glasses. He looks far more intelligent and more like well spoken than the actual Bryce. He seems like that's a nice guy you like to talk to versus horrible rapist you want to put next through.
That and the fact that the actress who plays Hannah was British was like the two things that really pulled me out of like my shock and depression upon finishing the series when I watched that.
They gotta relieve, you gotta relieve that somehow. They gotta okay, so what can we use to kind of brighten things up? Okay, well, let's reveal Catherine Langford is a little British. Let's reveal that.
I mean, just the act of doing that for me was like, oh, okay, Hannah's a work of fiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. All right. Last tape 7A.
Yeah, Mr. Porter. Mr. Porter.
Mr. Porter.
Yeah, I mean, the book is very captivating, Dragon. Now tell me, in the show, I don't remember exactly. Like the show, she records the entire conversation, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, because it's very much the same way in the book.
Unless she edited somehow, I know she recorded the entire conversation. I can verify that.
Dragon, all I need to say about the book is this: there's just okay. First of all, there's a moment in the series that kills me. That's not in the book.
Really?
Which is the moment where he's like, "Well, I think you have friends, Hannah. What about Clay Porter? Clay Porter hates me."
Not Clay Porter, Clay Jensen.
I'm so sorry. Clay
my secret son. You like my secret son, don't you? My love child. You met my love child, haven't you?
Okay, in all seriousness, though.
Yes. Go on. Yes,
where she says Clay Jensen hates me.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Oh God, Dragon, I have been in that exact same position where I've basically accused someone who really cares about me of hating me because of my mental instability, and yeah, it's rough, man. It's rough. There's a moment in the book that is just absolutely devastating.
There are a lot of heartbreaking parts in this report. Let's make that very clear.
Sure, but just the moment I want to emphasize that just kind of says it all with Porter is he tries, but he doesn't try hard enough. You know what I mean? That's just that's all you can fucking say about him. Because she makes it very clear. She's like, I've been thinking about ending it all. I guess there's nothing left to do. When she walks out of the room, she's like, I guess there's nothing else to do but to end it. Dragon, any reasonable person would fucking walk out of that room and follow her. And there's this heartbreaking moment.
I'm sorry, Tiki.
What?
Is that in the book?
Yes.
That line you just said. Okay, I want to make it clear. I'm saying it's a little different in the show. Go on, please. So she walks out.
In the book, she's more direct.
Yes, okay. I just want to make that clear. Okay, so she's
in the book, she's more direct. And there's this devastating moment in the book where you're hearing her over the tape recorder, and she's standing outside of the door, and she's like, "He's not coming. He's not coming. He's given up on me."
Oh.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about Porter, really. I mean, I think it kind of sums it all up with that one statement right there.
Now, in the show, what they do with that, I like the power of that is fantastic. And what they do is they shuffle that around. So basically, a lot of that is communicated, just different, not as directly. Because I think the fear is that if they made it so explicit, make Porter look too incompetent.
I hear you.
So Porter is still. Here's the thing. I think Porter, he genuinely would like to help, but he is oblivious to Hannah's suicidal thoughts, as we see.
As far as the rape is concerned, it is very much the same thing. Right. Where it's like, there's two options, Hannah. You either confront him or you move on. And for Hannah, neither of those things were options.
Exactly. That's one of those.
One of the big offensive things. I don't remember if this is in the show, but he basically says well, if the guy who did this thing is a senior, then he'll be out of school next year, as if that makes it any better. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that was like, then she says, "Are you effing kidding me?" After that,
right.
First, okay, the two things to hit upon, because I'm going to be talking about this scene especially later on, but let's just say Porter.
God, my family's gonna fucking hate me for staying up like this because we're really dragging this on. But go ahead.
With Porter here, it's that the scene is very well done. How we keep spinning around, how we keep going from Clay to Hannah, from the past conversation to kind of Clay's kind of regaling him with what was said on the tape, and you're right. That moment right there is just that's so like you can't believe that he's saying that. That just shows you that Porter, while he does mean well, he's really bad at his job. We got to face facts here. Porter, he's a failed character. I don't mean that he's failed. That they didn't translate their point. I'm saying he's a failure of a character. That's the point. Sure. That he wants her to move past rape not in the traditional healing sense, just move past because you have no choice. And it's really just he's just callous with her without meaning to be. He didn't go, and of course, it's that moment, as you pointed out, really hit you like that moment where after she leaves, you think, okay, well, he's going to go after her, but he doesn't. And the fact that she vocalized that really speaks volumes. Like, oh, she waited for that chance. That was essentially Porter was her last chance, short of Clay. That was her last chance of living again. Like. But at the same time, you look at it.
There's even that haunting, like, one last try. I'm giving life one last try.
Yes. Oh god, that's what that whole for me episode 13, all the Porter Hannah stuff. That's really the strength of that last episode for me. That's really the backbone of the episode. So, it's God, what was I going to say here? So, it's. Now let's move on.
Okay, favorite scenes. I have to knock mine out really quick, Dragon, because I
well, we had. Yeah, it was just that. I was going to say pros and cons, but.
I'm just really stressed out about the time, man. Like, we're going
past
my time. Do you want to rattle off some pros and cons really fast? I can't really speak to them.
Let me read off a quick list here. So, of course, the Monday performance structure of the mystery and events, the build to the clay. Top-notch performances all around. Everyone delivered a very fantastic performance. Using cassette, inspired choice, which translates from the book. The device with Clay's head wound, the past and present device, allows for some eerie dreams, some anxiety-based visuals. The expectation of Bryce, everyone. I'm sorry, with the exception of Bryce, you can see everyone making their choices. Like, not everyone started off as a bad person, but they just kind of made choices along the way that kind of took them down a path. Bryce is probably the only exception. I mean, just seeing like there's gray in everyone. Everyone has shades of gray. Again, we already talked up a lot of pros. There's very few cons.
Fair enough.
The show does a whole lot of stuff, right? Realism. Okay, cons. Real quick, not a whole lot here. Just. It's still a hard buy that no one would even on the rewatch. Considering it's a really hard buy, no one would expose or just ignore the tapes. Mm-hmm. Because imagine like one they could like fast forward to hear the name. Okay, not my tape. Moving on.
Right.
Nope. Not my tape. They fast forward to their tape. Like if Clay really wanted to avoid the anxiety, he'd do that. But again, just following the rules because everyone's scaring him into it. And also like Alex, Jessica, and Ryan have the least to lose. I mean, those guys, they would probably be the whistleblowers. They have the least to lose if they came forward. So I hit the girl. I made the list, and again Ryan was scot free. Honestly, just like I published the thing. No one stopped me.
Right.
The fact that no administrators can put two and two together, that all of these strange occurrences are linked to this particular group of students who are all, by the way, up for interview later on, like they're all being considered to be called in for an interview. No one can put that together.
I hear you.
Crap. All right, yeah. The framing Clay is absolute BS. Like the whole the idea that like no one's like there's no follow up to that. I mean, there's like a whole student like quote unquote honor council meeting about a fight. Yet Clay can't. He can't. There's no way of Clay contesting the charge. Like they instantly just say book him for it. There's no like explanation or anything. There's no follow up for like, hey, I could just say I was framed. It's nothing. Just frustrating. How could Hannah not leave a note for her parents? How could she not leave an explanation for the parents? That I don't get. I still really don't get that. Thinking of that later on.
The one thing I can speak to reading the book is that it was just too hard. She's made up her mind, and just thinking about her parents was just too hard for her. So she just kind of pushed that off.
Okay, unless this one's like, would have been nice to see Clay inform his parents at the end, but we didn't really get that. So it's just a minor gripe. Okay, those are all the cons.
All right. So my favorite scenes, Dragon. I'm sorry, I just have to blow through these as quick as I possibly can. Let's see, going chronologically. Shit. Now I forget what my scenes even were because I'm an idiot. Okay, I have the Bryce Batman thing. I have the Tony conversation. Do you remember my third one, Dragon?
I remember there was the honor council thing. That was like, it might have been a fourth though. Tony. Again, honor cancel. All I got for you, TK. I think that we land on for the third.
Crap. Now I feel embarrassed. So there's definitely Tony, definitely Bryce. Shit.
Well, yeah, it was either that or the bleacher thing with Alex. I mean, if you wanted, it's
I know I had a third one because the Alex one was just kind of a backup. I know I had a third one.
well, it probably involved Hannah, I figure.
Dragon, I'm terribly sorry. I can really only speak to 2 moments, okay? I'm so sorry.
All right, go on.
Okay, so moment number one is even though this happens chronologically a little later on, I'm going to talk about it first because I think moment 2 is a more powerful moment. But I absolutely love Dragon.
Oh, it was Justin. Justin was the third one.
Justin. Oh, telling off Bryce. Right. Got it. Okay. Thank you. I don't have much to say about that, but okay. So moment number one, Dragon. I'll get to the Bryce stuff, and then I'll circle back around to the Tony stuff. So I absolutely love Clay playing Batman with Justin. You know, taking the abuse, taking the punches.
Bryce.
I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm crashing and burning right now.
No. It's fine. Go on.
I'm just really like, this is going on way too long. Way too long. So
We'll wrap it up after moments. We'll save the spec for some other times. We'll be done.
Okay. Sorry, just let me get composed because this is just like I literally have nightmares of this kind of situation, Dragon. I'm not even kidding you. Where we're like in the middle of the podcast and I can't stop it, even though I should. Okay.
The confession.
The confession. Like I said, just it's very much a Mike Ehrmantraut kind of moment. You know, like taking the abuse for the greater good. Just an awesome plan on Clay's part, you know, to go over to get the weed and then kind of just like, you know, get Bryce, because Bryce is like such an idiot, you know, it's like he's just like he doesn't even comprehend that what he's saying is wrong in the moment as he's saying it, you know what I mean?
And that weird respect he has for him when he gets into the chair and he just, you know, gives him the drink, they toast. Like, it's like this guy's so evil.
Exactly. Right. And I just, like I said, the crux of that scene is very much so, you know, Clay just doing whatever it takes to get justice for Hannah. Great stuff there. Okay, number 2, Dragon. Don't really have much to say about it, but I think it's absolutely cathartic when Justin tells off Bryce at the end of the season. I think it's a moment we've been building towards through the season, and I think it's definitely the moment for me that absolutely cements Justin as a nice guy who just kind of got caught up in all the drama, all the bullshit that was going on. And here's the moment I actually want to focus on, though, Dragon. I love the moment where Tony tells Clay how he found Hannah. It's changed a little bit in the book. I don't want to bore you with the details of how it's changed. I want to focus on the show because I think the show, it's a good moment in the book. It's a very powerful moment in the show. You know how he's kind of like putting the pieces together in the book. He puts the pieces together because the bike that she drops off the bike as well as the tapes, and then he's like, wait a minute, like it's one of the signs of suicide if people are giving away their possessions. This is a bad sign. I need to look into this, you know. Actually, I'm sorry, she gives him the bike as she's asking for the tape recorder. So anyways, just the story, Dragon, the story of him listening to the tapes, realizing what's going on, realizing what's happened, calling the Bakers, not getting an answer, rushing over in his car. I'm sure this got to you too, Dragon. I'm sure this got to you too, but I can't even tell you how real world and devastating the detail of him seeing the body bag and then wondering about the handles on the body bag, like why there's no handles.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, and I just thought to myself, Clay, like, where are the handles? How are they going to pick her up? And then they just hoisted her up like she was furniture and just threw her in the ambulance. Threw her, Clay. They threw her. And, God, just, you know, just the acting on Tony's part, just, you know, just the grief and remorse. It's like, I love that moment because it just goes to show that even unhelpful Yoda is just as emotionally affected by this as anyone else is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to speed through mine. So essentially, a big moment. very satisfying when Clay kind of taking Courtney to Hannah's unmarked grave and really kind of chewing her out over it. It's really a really great scene. Again, it's a fantastic setting. I love it's kind of called back to, oh my god, we didn't know how serious Clay was about this. He really played mind games with her. Just such a great kind of comeuppance for Courtney, where he just, I think basically the two real standout parts of it are, one, it's this bit where he says. If she says, I'm sorry, after they have a long conversation about, basically, and again, the crux is she really makes it all about herself instead of Hannah, which that's essentially that's her crime. It's on it's on everyone. It's on you and on everyone. That's kind of what is Clay's pointing out to her. I'm not the one who needed to hear that. Hannah did. And Hannah needed to hear I'm sorry, which she never told. Last bit on that scene, I just love the whole, like, he makes the little Hannah sign, puts it as a great marker. And when we get to a certain documentary we're going to do, you're going to see, well, the unmarked grave is always kind of a real, it brings back memories. Like, you never want an unmarked grave. You always want that little acknowledgement, which we'll get to in a documentary thing. I'll be talking about down the line. All right. Okay. Let's see. Big scene. This one kind of Clay. This one for me. If I had to pedal one on for the entire series, it's Clay chewing out the school's faults, the school's failings in front of the exchange students. That to me is a powerful scene because, without getting on a soapbox necessarily, let's just say again, I've always this show really speaks to. I hate certain like rules in schools, but mainly high schools. These little kind of bureaucratic nightmares of like you just have to. Like certain rules are just like ridiculous, and they sound like they're complete BS. Like, and basically kind of there's these little injustices in a school system that Clay, in a way, is just kind of not in the same vein, but it's that sort of like, he's just calling out this school for all their BS, calling all these people who've been treated like crap. Clay has reached a breaking point. One of the best parts is when he says, they paint. Here's what the school does in retaliation: they give away her locker, they paint over all the evidence essentially to cover themselves from liability. Basically paints over the bathroom walls and everything. And welcome to the school until everyone's gonna be all nice and wave at you until they stab you in the back and just like talk about you after you're dead. Essentially that's what he says, and he flips out and scare the heck out of these poor exchange students. But again, it's just it's great. And then that gutless weasel porter in the back says, oh, Mr. Jensen, come in the office. That little gutless weasel. Yeah. Anyway, so the point is, really, it's a huge standout scene in this series. I've watched the scene a couple of times. Like, that's Manetti. Give him an Emmy, folks. Polish an Emmy for him. Give him an Emmy. All right. Let's see. Two last things. One goes by real quick. It's just the Hannah moment. I always bring this up with the series. Like the Clay chewing out everyone out in this moment are the two big things I always talk about the series. The moment of choice, which is something you never see in a suicide scene.
Oh God.
I'm only covering one section of here, so again, it's of course a big stamp moment of the whole series, but the moment of choice you never see with any suicide captured on film. It's that moment of after the first in the bathtub, after the first kind of the first blow is struck, let's say. It's just that moment of like you can either get help and make it kind of an attempt, or you can go all the way with it. And I just love they captured that horrifying moment. It's like you never see that. That to me is the most haunting element of that scene. The other one, the rewatch, I guess, would be one of the
most haunting moment of the whole show for me.
Yes, but also like just the thing that really chilled me on the rewatch because I haven't really, obviously, because it's a real downer. I really try not to rewatch that scene, but the way the logic of the tub is going to overflow for it's being filled with additional liquid. Like, oh god, it's so horrifying and makes so much logical sense. Okay, last thing, and in this scene. Last thing is the Porter, Clay and Mr. Porter having their scene together in episode 13.
Really quick, just to address the difference between the book and the show. In the book, she just takes a bunch of pills, and in the show, they make it a lot more graphic.
Yeah, and there was an alternate ending considered where Hannah would live because they used pills.
Right. Anyways.
Right. Right. So Clay confronting Porter, that to me is a very powerful scene. Again, like a lot of these scenes are my favorites. Are just kind of really good at kind of jump 2 points for the series, I guess. Just like I love the whole, Porter just after he's been confronted with like, yeah, Porter, look what you could have helped this girl, but you didn't. Just Clay saying, and Porter saying to Clay, you can't love someone back to life, and Clay says, you can try.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just gets to this beautiful bit here where he gives him the tapes, and basically the last two people he can give tapes are Porter and Bryce. Now, obviously, he's not giving Bryce because he wants to send the guy up the river, as we all do. But it was just a beautiful punctuation to the whole. Honestly, the whole series, if you ask me, it's just like it has to get better. It has to get better. Just telling that to like a Porter with tears in his eyes, being called out for his BS. Like, oh my God, it's a fantastic moment. All right,
I feel like that moment's a good kind of place to end, unless you have any other final thoughts, because I've said my piece on this.
All right, just the final thoughts on the whole thing. Again, series. The series is definitely a memorable experience, as I mentioned before. I marvel at the capability of the cast, and with this mature material. Again, Manetti and Langford are great. Again, everyone's great. I'm just saying the two of them, they're really great, and they do carry the series. Langford in kind of a narration capacity as well. We bring up the failings of the school system that are very real, and again, in a way we don't really see brought up that often. And hopefully, this will deter suicide, and promotes more discussion. As I hope that's the positive takeaway from the series that I hope people will take away. You got to discuss this show, folks. Like we're doing that. You got to discuss the show and discuss the themes of the show to better the world. That's what you do, folks.
Absolutely. And
there's a reason for you to watch
Dragon,
this
as
show.
you said, in the words of Clay Jensen, things have to get better. Things have to get better, and I feel like that's a very inspiring note to end on.
Yes.
And folks, just remember, in spite of any hardships, in spite of any circumstances, just be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, love each other. That's all I got to say. Good night, everyone.